the game white played king f1, even missing knight e3, and after knight e3 was played, it was seen by the face that white completely missed it and white already lost.
Okay, we're Team Polgar, so...
I dedicated a lot of time also for top chess. I was training many top players.
It's a great opportunity for tournaments, 19 games each.
I think just try to, be ready and to have a good shape for the event.
And you can do this in each position you can solve in half a second.
Can I play rook g6 here?
Rook g6.
No, sorry. Do you want? I just want to cut your king.
Wherever this pawn is, and wherever this king is, draw an arrow. If the pawn is hitting the king, or if the king is above that, like if white king was above this thing, it's a draw. We'll get to each and every position. So when we go here, we draw the arrow, it's not hitting the king. This position is lost.
Watch chess tournaments online? Don't just watch. Go to Chess24 and make it an interactive learning experience. You get live commentary in multiple languages, including different streams in English from beginner to expert. It's not just commentary, since there's also an interactive live board. Choose your game and try out your own moves. All moves by the players get near-instant cloud analysis from the latest chess engine, which will also analyze any move made by a premium user. Open the tab Opening Tree. It contains a database of 500 million positions from historical games. Has the current position ever occurred before? What did the best players play? The database tab lets you search full games and load them on the interactive board. There are many more tools for chess learners and experts. Come to Chess24 to watch all the online and over-the-board chess tournaments happening worldwide. Discover a new way to watch chess. Be part of the experience.
Let's take someone with a random account, with a random name. That just seems attractive.
Play live online against the world's top chess players while they stream their thoughts live. As a Chess24 Premium member, seize the chance to have your moment of fame. Get a peek inside their lives with question and answer sessions, in-depth teaching, analysis and interviews. The Champions Chess Tour, with countless accompanying events, is happening now. Tune in on Chess24.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ, with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Baer, Gelfand and co will help you improve your chess. Play versus a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
Hello and welcome to the final day of the Gelfand challenge, and it is crunch time. We are going to find out who will walk away with the first prize and that golden spot into the Champions Chess Tour. Well, anything can happen when we have only 4 rounds left. I'm International Master Jovanka Houska, and it is a great pleasure to be here in the studio, as always, with Grandmaster David Howell.
Thank you, Jovanka. And as you said, it's been so much drama already so far. We've seen so many decisive games. We've seen lots of upsets, some time scrambles. We've had it all. We've been very lucky. And now it's time for that race. We do have one clear leader, Vincent Keimer from Germany, chased by Pragnananda, who won last time. He won the Polgar Challenge a couple of months ago, getting onto that Champions Chess Tour. And yeah, let's wait and see who's going to win. Also, Team Kramnik, Team Polgar.
The heat is on, isn't it? You know, it's been such a fantastic 3 days of chess so far. And I think today the best is yet to come as we find out who will be the winner. So let's remind ourselves of the standings, I think. In top spot, we have Vincent Keimer on 12 points, Pragnananda on 11.5 points. And in third place, a little bit of an outsider name, Christopher Yu, but he's young, so definitely a name to watch in the future. And Vincent Keimer, my goodness me, he put on a show for us yesterday. He scored 5 points out of 5. Yeah. Now, wow. I mean, how was his form, David?
He's been one of the most impressive players so far, of course, in the lead, but also the most consistent, very rarely blundering, taking his chances when they come. And that's the most important thing in these long tournaments, just consistency. We've seen some of the other players take the lead for a few rounds at a time, but then dropping off with losses in a row. And for Vincent, that hasn't been the case. He's been very stable. And actually, if we look back at one of his games from yesterday, in his black game against Jonas Baer, he came up with an incredible idea in this position after white played knight to d6, attacking the black queen and attacking the black bishop at the same time. He just gave up his queen. He played bishop takes g2, knight takes c8, and actually we did see, lots of complications at first, but we did see Vincent later on assert his authority in this game. And if we just whiz ahead towards the end now, we did see these 2 rooks, black's material for the queen. It was more than sufficient. And after queen b7, just stopping rook g2 check, he came up with the killing blow, knight e4, and checkmate soon arrived on the board. This was the type of thing he was doing throughout the day, just taking his chances when they come, no matter whether it was a strategic game, whether it was just a mess of complications. Vincent, he was faultless yesterday.
Yeah, definitely an impressive tactic that you showed us there, David. So after 15 rounds of play, there's still someone who's chasing him, though. And that, of course, is Indian superstar Pragnananda. Now, he almost would have been in the lead if it had not been for one moment where it all went a little bit wrong. And that was against Zansaya Abdulmalik. And things were doing well.
Yeah, actually, it was in this game, it was going swimmingly for him. Prag was in the lead, and suddenly in this position, with actually a completely winning position, he is the exchange up with white. So many central pawns here, the black king very weak, and it was just a one-move blunder. Bishop takes d7, just a moment of carelessness, just missing knight takes e4 check with this fork, and suddenly tables turned completely. And we did see, after things cleared up a bit, black was just a queen for a rook up. So yeah, a bit of a disaster in that one game for Pragnananda, but he recovered. He got a couple of wins towards the end. He drew his final game of yesterday, and he's only half a point behind. Maybe with, on paper, slightly easier pairings today. And yeah, anything could still happen.
Yeah, definitely, because looking ahead, and there you can actually see we have a tweet from Club Elo, who says to win Gelfand Challenge and qualify for the Chess Champs, every half point counts between Keimer and Prag. Keimer half a point ahead now, but has the worst tiebreak. But when it comes to tiebreak, it is all about the direct encounter. And of course, you have to remember, Pragnananda did defeat Vincent Keimer very, very convincingly, I have to say. And as an additional point, Yu has reasonable chances, but only if he wins everything tomorrow. That's today. So he has to get 4 points out of 4. And there you can see the probability and the percentage. So the heat is on. Can't wait to see how the action will develop for today.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's anything like the previous days, there's barely going to be any draws, so all bets are off. All bets are off for sure. And Christopher Yu, he's been one who impressed us a lot. Yesterday, we had Anna Muzichuk with us, his mentor in this series of events, and she was full of praise for him. He's matured a lot. He's got his Grandmaster title, so 2-horse race maybe. But Christopher Yu, don't write him off yet.
Yeah, he's an international master. He just got a GM norm. But what I did notice about Christopher is that he lost his first game and then won 4 in a row. No mean feat against the opposition, because you do have to remember, this is the Julius Baer Challengers Chess Tour, and you have 20 of the finest young minds, both 10 male participants and 10 female. So absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. It's really pioneering effort, and it's thanks to, of course, Chess24 and, of course, to Polgar, to Judith Polgar, to Vladimir Kramnik, and this tournament, Boris Gelfand, all these fantastic coaches who've really come together to inspire the next generation.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, we are so lucky to have our next guest with us. She's the all-time #1 female player. She's been in the world's top 10. She's even held the record for being the youngest ever Grandmaster of all time, and that was she broke Bobby Fischer's record there.
That's right.
And I sometimes get a bit tongue-tied when introducing her because she's such a legend. It is none other than Grandmaster Judith Polgar.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Judith. Such an exciting event, such a wonderful competition we've seen so far. I mean, I've been really shocked by how comparatively few draws there are.
Yeah, have you been enjoying watching the tournament so far, Judith?
Unfortunately, my last few days were extremely busy, and I have not real time to see many of the games, only very few games of Vincent, and then the first day with the Avander. But I know that there is some real hot things going on in these games, because I talk with my trainers and they are also saying that things are really exciting.
Yeah, how do you feel the whole process is going so far with those trainers and with the sessions they're having weekly with the juniors?
Well, I think it's a very interesting concept, the whole event. It is something very new, so it needs time until people understand it. I think that how it can unfold, because it's an important concept for me, that there are equally amount of girls, ladies playing and boys, because obviously they are all very talented. But we have to see that the girls, mostly if you see the rating standings, they are lower rated players. So this is important to highlight, I think. But for me, what is very important, because I believe in that, to make circumstances for girls to play in a tournament where they can feel that they really have to fight so heavily, and even the good is not going to be good enough necessarily, but that they try really to challenge yourself, challenge the opponent. And I do hope that, generally speaking, there will be a buzz about it, that well, maybe actually girls really can set their goals higher, and the coaches will set the goals higher, and girls are not going to be competing only with boys for training, but actually they really want to challenge themselves on the chessboard to show that they can improve and they can be better than the other one. And so this is something very important for me of this whole concept of the event. And I think it's also extremely important for young, talented players to have a continuity, that every week they have something. So I also keep in touch, kind of sending them studies and motivate them a little bit. And I think this is important. Generally, it might seem not so important time to time, but if it goes from week to week, and the trainers who I have, they are excellent, Arthur Kogan, and the other two coaches I have, so they are really good, and I think the youngsters, they really feel that they are taken care of, and we are keeping an eye on them, and we always send them exercises also apart from the weekly session. So I think this few months of period of time, I will be interesting what do they feel, and the results, how it will be more improved.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned some of the girls there. We've already seen some fantastic games. Mamadzada beating Abdusatorov, Abdumalik beating Pragnananda, and also Abdumalik, who is one of the girls participating. She crushed the field in Gibraltar recently at the Grand Prix. So already it feels like there has been
there's been
a lot of progress.
There's definitely been some progress. You know, Christopher Yu just got his first GM norm. You also have the big success of Abdumalik, as David says, and also Gunay Mamadzada coming third in the Gibraltar Grand Prix. So definitely a lot of success stories here. And for me, one of the things that I absolutely love about the whole net setup is that it brings the world together. You have all these players and trainers with different approaches, different styles, and they're working together in an individual event that is also a team event, which I know that Team Polgar is actually leading. So that's good news for you there, Judith.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy that my team is leading. So I'm curious when I will talk with Vladimir about it, how things are. And actually, we won the previous tournament as well. So it is a real challenge. And of course, so far I was talking only about my side of the coaches, also of Arthur and Ganguly and Juve Jun. But also, of course, our own Kramnik's team, the coaching is really exceptional, professional. So this is also, and of course, I'm very happy that there are progress, as you just mentioned, those few results by the players. So it is something very exciting for me where they are leading. Of course, they are talented and they are okay without us. But you know, both of you, when you were youngsters, talented prodigies yourself, that when somebody was saying to you some important chess classic was telling you some supportive, inspirational sentence, you got like wings, right? Like you can really do something special. So these are small details and which can be important. And I know also that some of my coaches, they have private talks also with players. So those are also important.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's so important to have those role models. And I think this tour is fantastic to just show young players, maybe some of our viewers at home, that chess can be a viable career option. So yeah, some fantastic work. We mentioned the team aspect, Judith, and we should also mention again, the winning team does get to visit the World Championship match in November. If that happens, will you be going to Dubai?
Actually, I'm for sure going to be in Dubai for several different projects I have, but I do hope to be in the same time as the kids, and I hope it's going to be my team who is going to be part of it. And well, whoever wins in any case, for those youngsters, it's going to be a very special experience, because I remember myself when I was playing in my first Olympiad and Garry Kasparov was watching my game, and I was in ecstasy that, wow, he's watching my game. So, I mean, when you're near to such a chess gods, then you have very special memories taking home, right? So, well, I hope we're going to win, and it's my team who is going to be there together with me.
Ooh, fighting talk. And yeah, talking of fighting talk, the games are just about to start. And in the first game, we're going to be following our leader, Vincent Keimer, against Volodar Mertzin. And Vincent, we did mention, he's been fantastic so far today. There we see him getting ready for the game. Also, a clash between two members of Team Polgar. Have you had any direct contact with the coaches of Vincent and Volodar recently, Judith, during the event maybe?
Yeah, I'm in contact with the coaches, and well, I'm also in contact personally with the players time to time. And I know that Murzin, I was more in contact in the first tournament. I was following him very closely and sending him private extra exercises. And Keimer, of course, he's doing really great, and he's the student, so-called, of Arthur Kogan. I'm talking with him frequently, and I always get very positive feedbacks. And the most important thing is, I think, that those kids or youngsters, they have great talent, they have great results, but there's so much still to come from their play if they get good training, and if they get motivated and even more dedicated to the game, you can see that all of them can really improve so much. That's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, we could be talking about these players for the next 20, 30 years, right? Some of them.
Yeah. In fact, talking to Boris Gelfand and a lot of the other coaches, they were very impressed with the standard, and they were saying, you know, you got to look at it in the long term, because these juniors are going to be here to stay. They're going to be competing, maybe even at the top, because they're so strong and so young as well. I know Volodar is incredibly young.
Yeah. Judith, what words of, you mentioned the motivational talk sometimes, and Boris was saying he tells his students that it's 19 games, it's just about learning. What have you been saying to the players?
Well, I'm also telling them that first of all, I also measure how motivated they are on daily basis by sending them exercises. And I try to give my passion to chess, that, I mean, really enjoy sometimes only the beauty of the game. And I'm also saying that the tournament is long. It's you have to take it, you have to focus, don't lose your focus. Whatever happens in a game, go on, move on to the next game. And that it's a journey. It's of course, it's hard to say to players, youngsters, that this can be also training, because obviously they all want to win the game, right? But I do say sentences here and there or to the girls also when things didn't work out so well for them, or when Tujiner, she won some nice games, I was congratulating her and pinpointing 1 or 2 points in a game which I like the move very much, or I think where she can prove differently, or in an opening. But mainly it's a general talk and concrete puzzles which I send and supporting them.
Yeah, and the games have kicked off, and we can see that Vincent, playing with the white pieces, has done an opening that I like to play quite a lot, the Fianchetto variation against the King's Indian.
Yeah, and I know you had a lot of experience with the King's Indian, Judith, yourself. How did you feel facing the Fianchetto variation?
This was one of the line which I didn't like to play against. Karpov was playing against me quite a few times, but maybe it had to do with the quality of player who I was dealing with, because it was difficult for me to play against G3. I think I was not so successful. I liked much more to play against the sharper lines, which when I could attack very well on the king's side and attack my opponent's king. This is more of a solid way of playing it from the white side. And it can be a space advantage for white. This can be the problem. So it can be with b3, bishop b2 also, and knight d5 sometimes. So white is trying to stabilize everything and not to give any tactical chances for black. So this was very painful for me.
Yeah, actually, I started playing the Fianchetto variation myself just to try and frustrate my opponents. Not because I necessarily enjoyed the positions for white, just I felt the King's Indian players.
So that's a psychological aspect of the game, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's also quite easy to play from the white side. You know, I remember when I made the big change from switching from e4 to d4, and my coach at the time, he told me, just play it. I barely knew anything. He said, just play it. And before I knew it, it was okay. And I was instinctively finding the right moves. So I think it's a very natural opening. You instinctively know when to grab space and how to do it. So yeah, we can see that Vincent Kmar has played h3, which is maybe a little bit of an unusual move.
Yeah, I was just trying to work out why he didn't play e4 last move.
Yeah.
But
E4 was a bit more standard because that's...
Yeah, no reason to rush. Is that how you studied openings as well, Judith? Were you, I mean, in those days before databases, before these opening trees and all these resources, how did you study? Was it just by practicing?
Well, we had a file system which my parents were developing by little small cards, having each card 1 game on it. We had like 100,000 games. And those were selected by categories of ECO, like what kind of openings and what kind of variations, and also for the players. So whenever we wanted to develop a new opening, a new system, we just picked out those few hundred games, look at the top players first, what is the whole opening is about, what kind of structures we are going to be finding. And once we like the position of the middle game, then we were focusing more on the concrete elements of the game of the opening. But then, of course, databases arrived and things started to be a little bit different. But generally, this part stayed the same, that develop and start to play opening and to understand it well, you have to know how the middle game is unfolding. So I see that Vincent is getting aggressive.
Yeah, G4. It's as if Volodar was trying to provoke that move, but Vincent said yes. Were you slightly surprised White didn't play King H2 a few moves ago instead, just to...
Yes, I'm slightly surprised, right? Because the big idea in the whole position is to actually play d5 and get a knight to d4 or to support it with pawns. So this is a completely different approach to go h3, g4. I haven't seen anything like that. Well, have you, David?
Not in the fianchetto. I do notice in a lot of my rapid games, I mean, I play this system as White a lot these days, but in my rapid games, somehow, if in these Kings Indians, h5, I mean, maybe h5 isn't necessarily forced here, but later on, there always seems to be some tricks against the White King, and I don't necessarily feel it's the most practical way to play in rapid. But okay, for right now, probably nothing too wrong with it. Black is a bit cramped. How would you, as a King's Indian player, Judith, how would you break out now? Would you go for e5 immediately? Is there anything else Black can try that's productive?
Well, if Black plays e5, then White goes d5. No question about that, I believe. Knight goes to e7. The rook would be definitely, or, well, I'm not sure you can try knight d4, but maybe White is just going back knight e1 and e3 will be a trap of knight.
True.
Of course, you can always think about capturing, sacrificing something on g4, but I doubt it that it will be enough compensation. And I think if we go back a little bit earlier, the knight on c2, actually, it is important, for example, in a line, if Black would go h5, g5, bishop h3, gf6, queen g4, then knight e3, but maybe bishop g2 can, if you go immediately bishop g2 instead of queen g4, this is a perpetual check.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, Volodar's played h5. Maybe this might happen. Because what else can White try? You don't really want to play f3, surely.
No, f3 you don't want to play.
I mean,
no.
It's the kind of move that I would play. I'd spend like 30 minutes at the board. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to draw.
The problem is if you play f3, you admit that something is really wrong. I mean, block your bishop on g2. Oh my. I mean, maybe after that you can play e4 and g5 and it's okay, but at first sight, it looks really shaky.
Ugly as anything, right? But what else could Vincent be thinking about? Because d5, I mean, okay, if g5 leads to a draw after bishop takes h3,
what about?
He probably doesn't want that for the tournament situation.
Yeah, you don't really also want to go d5 because then the knight can come to e5.
I don't see it's changed too much after g5 here. Black can always take on h3 at least, maybe even just knight h7 now as well.
Well, it does. It doesn't. And f3 is on the board.
Yeah, I'm not sure I should be proud that I suggested it or not.
No, but it's desperation. That's the problem. But what about if Black plays? If e5, e5, d5, and knight d4 now.
And maybe this idea again with knight e1.
It's a position, I think, which I've never seen anything similar. Where pawn is standing on f3.
Yeah, this formation, it doesn't look, well, we can't recommend it, right?
It's quite pretty, though, in its own unique way.
It is quite pretty. So Black has played e5. And yeah, we should mention to the viewers as well, knight d4, if we try and take as White, it's going to rebound. Okay, maybe hg4 first, but knight takes g4. So, okay, d5 on the board.
There already Black is taking the lead and gets the initiative. I would definitely be more with the Black side here, I believe. So yeah. I think he's going to go knight e7.
And if White plays e4 now, how's Black going to whip up some activity?
Yeah, it's tricky because suddenly it's quite reasonable, even though that it looks very ugly, the pawn on f3. But White has a good space advantage in the position.
Yeah, if you could kind of transport this bishop to e2, then it would look pretty decent for White, I think.
And don't they usually do some prepare? Well, here is not so Not so easy to do, but normally they kind of go for a c5.
With white.
As with black.
Okay, with black, c5.
Yeah.
But then what?
Well,
what about if I go? Actually, he went knight a5 because he wants to gain time, which makes a lot of sense. Not to allow white to stabilize with e4, and he wants to go e4 in the next move. After white is defending it somehow, queen d3.
But if you go queen d3, then the b4.
But on any move on e4 comes, I think.
Yeah. e4 trying to undermine this pawn.
Okay.
And open up the g7 bishop, the diagonal, right? So I'm a little bit worried about Vincent.
But if you go knight e3,
instead
of also e4.
E4.
Yeah, e4
even if black didn't rush, white would not be able to be playing e4, right? But I think just e4 without thinking, because let's say you go g5, knight h7, knight e4. First of all, the h3 pawn is hanging, but also sometimes rook e4 can be.
And is b4 a problem?
b4.
Yeah, sorry. Instead of pushing g5.
Okay. Feels very shaky for white. Something along this diagonal.
Yeah, that's right. But the knight is trapped, so.
Maybe take here and then knight takes g4. Not sure which way white recaptures. Knight takes g4 maybe.
H takes g4, bishop c3, rook b1.
And then at the very least we can try. I don't know.
I agree with you, David.
Yeah.
Takes knight c4.
Yeah.
I mean, black has 2 pawns for the exchange, and the g4 pawn is also under attack.
Yeah, and most likely you can keep this bishop. Yeah. So, okay, b3 has been played after knight a5, b3. And now, I mean, it has to be e4, right? That must be the plan.
Well, I think the only question can be whether black wants to capture on g4 first, and only after that to play e4. So after g5, black has an option to play knight h5.
Okay. Maybe take this way. Now e4 is less scary immediately.
Well,
okay, e4 was played.
E4 on the board.
I prefer that.
And bishop b2 by Vincent. Yeah, this is very tense. All pieces still on the board. Yeah, I'm slightly worried about this knight on a5. It gained a bit of time, but it's
still b4 is not a threat because the c4 pawn is under attack, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if black would try to play something like c6. It's on the board, yeah.
You predicted the future, Judith.
Well, the idea is to go c takes d5 and queen c5 check and do something unpleasant on the black squares. Because now that bishop went to b2, look at on the king side that there is no defense on any of the black squares from white. So all the black squares are weak. And it can easily be a serious problem if, with the black square bishop, it can easily happen that black will just take everything on g4, sacrificing a knight, playing bishop e5, king g7, rook h8. Well, I'm in the mood, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's what we love to see. And I mean, if we get this in the game, it's going to be fireworks. Yeah.
But especially maybe here, cd5 before, playing knight c4, queen c5. Maybe I'm slow still, but it's kind of tricky.
No, for sure. So king h1 has been played. Can black take on d5 now? Is Vincent's idea to take back with the knight? This feels a bit too ambitious now, g5. Knight takes feels like there should be some tactical punishment, but I don't see it yet.
Well, knight d5, bishop g7, maybe knight f4, because this is the good thing when your rook is on e8. So after bishop g7, it's not hanging on f8.
Okay, but maybe bishop c3.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to give up the black square bishop. No, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, so maybe this is Vincent's plan with king h1 just to avoid any checks on c5, as you mentioned, after cd5.
Yeah, but maybe it's about time to capture on g4. Would white take it with the f pawn? Maybe
possibly.
Yeah, open up the diagonal for the bishop, queen f3. So maybe hg is not so good.
How tempted on a scale of 1 to 10 are you to take on g4 now in this position?
I would be much more tempted if my queen would be on d8 and I can give a check on it. I'm even wondering if queen d8 is maybe not here, but one move earlier. Maybe instead of capturing on h4, but then g5 will be the move already, right?
Okay, just to close things up. And yeah, so, okay, critical moment maybe for Volodar after king h1. Probably need something quite quickly.
Well, he's actually played a6.
Oh, okay.
So
it's not the quickest move.
Not the quickest move, but maybe it's a quick move on the other side of the board, you know.
b5 coming.
b5 is coming.
So he's just trying to maintain the status quo on the king side, playing on the other flank. Yeah, makes some sense. b5 next. How can Vincent improve? Queen d2, b5.
Well, eventually, probably d takes c6 should be the move. Maybe now.
Maybe now, yeah. Which way is black going to recapture?
Yeah, because if you take with the knight, whatever, white can capture on d6.
Yeah, we might well see this on the board as well. dc6 has been played. No consequences here, no.
a6 seems to me a little slow, I must say.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Feels inconsistent maybe to play h5 and then a6, take a timeout.
Though I haven't seen exactly how I would be continuing with black instead of a6, but a6, somehow I feel that black has not time for everything.
Yeah, so this position is actually on the board now, queen takes d6. And black needs something here.
Somehow those pawns are holding tight on the king side. It looks very ugly, but they're doing their job. I mean, I quite like white's position here.
Yeah, the f3 pawn, after all that, it does control the black knight, at least. Yeah. Unless there's some crazy tactics that we're not really seeing right now, it just looks like a clear pawn. Maybe black can play knight e5, bishop c6, and just play. But
yeah, but white can play something knight d5. Bishop e6 was played.
Bishop e6.
I mean, I can even imagine to play knight a4 and try to play knight b6.
Yeah, trying to just get the queens off if possible as well. How bad would an endgame be after queen d8? Probably pretty bad.
Rook d1. Well,
yeah, just rook d1.
Pawn up, I guess.
Yeah, knight a4, definitely a candidate move. What else could white try? Just rook d1 here as well.
Yeah.
Well, black wants to go knight d7 and open up the bishop's diagonal, but I see knight a4 is on the board. It's important, I think, for white to stop.
Yeah, it's, you're predicting the moves, Judith. Very impressive.
I don't know whether it's good or bad that we are playing.
Yeah,
I
would be surprised if Peter Lecker would play a move like knight a4 there, but
well, it makes sense though. It opens up the bishop and overprotects it as well, so that there's no tactics along that diagonal. So this looks like it's shaping up to be a very interesting battle. Vincent there with the edge, having a pawn up, of course. But should we move on to Vincent's main rival, Pragananda, who has the white pieces against Christopher Yu, and Christopher, of course, being in third place with 10.5 points.
Okay, so this one's maybe a slightly quieter game. We've got this kind of Carlsbad structure, but a few nuances here. White has these doubled F pawns, but an open G line. Opposite color bishops. Black's got this kind of pawn on b6, which looks a bit misplaced. You kind of want it back on b7 now. Who's going to get to the opponent's king first? I guess that's the question. Is white going to try and play e4 if black doesn't counter himself somehow?
Yeah, of course. If white can go e4 one day without losing the d4 pawn, it means that the game could be, we could say that it's over, right? And this is very painful in these kind of positions that, especially for weaker players, I think, that you see that, well, it's more or less equal, right? Everything is okay. But in such a position, you get an e4 move and maybe the whole game is collapsing. e4, e5, f4, f5, everything is destroyed.
Yeah.
So what should Black be doing here?
I was actually going to say, like, unless Black's going to play b5 and hope to play some kind of slow burn attack, then Queen h2 is on the radar. I'm not sure whether you can actually capture this pawn. It feels like your queen might get trapped. For example, rook g3 takes, and bishop g2 might be too slow, but
there is a funny thing, you know, that after queen h2, bishop can't white develop with the bishop to d3.
Maybe a6 as well. But
maybe
d3.
a6. But my idea was that after queen h5, if white can double, rook h1, rook g1 cannot trap the queen.
Ah, okay.
You have queen
f3.
Queen f3.
Oh, there's not many escape squares. This nearly traps the queen.
But then I can take the pawn, can't I?
Yeah, exactly. Nearly. I did mention nearly. Rook g1. Yeah, some threats now. Bishop g5.
Bishop g5 was the
Just to create a safe square.
Mouse hole, I call them.
Mouse hole. Okay, bishop d3. Maybe we'll see this on the board or something similar.
Well, it's kind of interesting as well that Christopher. Oh.
Okay, Christopher has grabbed this pawn.
He has grabbed the pawn, and well.
Maybe you don't need to even sacrifice f3. Maybe you just play f4
Just
here.
f4. I like that. F4.
Well, one thing is that the bar has shot up in White's favor, and f4 played. So now bishop e2 is coming, and Christopher really doesn't have too much time to deal with it. He only has 1 minute, just over 1 minute on the clock.
Actually, rook h1 as well. Maybe bishop e2, but rook h1 is a huge threat as well. Queen g4 is always met by f5, queen f3. You can even play a move like rook h2 and try and trap the queen.
So how do you get out of this? How does the queen extricate herself?
That's what Christopher needs to figure out. I think we're going to struggle.
I'm afraid there is a huge advantage for White.
Even if you don't trap the queen, you'll gain 4 or 5 tempi, right? As White too.
But White's aim is to trap the queen.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably better to trap the queen than to go for checkmate.
I think Christopher is very much worried about his queen right now. Not the tempi is what is going to be lost in the next few moves.
Well, he has 18 seconds left, so it's really getting. I mean, can we find something? Any way out?
It doesn't look like there'd even be a way to give up the queen for a rook and a piece.
Well, he said knight f8.
Okay, knight f8. Knights on f8. There is no mate.
There is no mate, but that's not the issue here.
Isn't this just trapping immediately?
Okay, then I maybe go queen.
Almost.
f3.
Queen f3, and if I just defend f2.
Rook h2. Yeah.
That's cold, guys.
Queen g4 only move. Bishop f5.
Bishop f5.
Rook g1. I think none of us would want to be in Christopher's shoes.
Ouch. Yes. Yeah.
H5 only move, but
H5, rook g3 now.
Rook g3. Yeah. So actually, Black cannot save his queen.
And
that's where we are standing. He played queen f3.
So it looks like Prague's going to really up the pressure on Vincent with a win in this game. Yeah, rook h2 just looks very
rook h2.
convincing.
I was just checking whether that was the only move. It's not the only move. You can also go rook dg1. So
yeah.
White is just in full control there with the black queen in big danger, and rook h2 on the board. And yeah, well, it certainly looks like Pragnanda is putting the pressure on Vincent Kema.
Should we go back to Vincent? That game has changed
head back. Yep.
A fair amount. So we did see those queens come off after knight a4. If we okay, actually, we probably don't have time to backtrack. There's been a lot of moves. The queens did come off. If we do a quick count, White's 2 pawns up. Bishop b7, rook c7. Okay, so
White is just completely winning, right? Bishop d5 check. I mean, he can also take on h6, but it seems like it's a matter of technique.
Maybe there's some counterplay after bishop a6. Maybe some rook e3. Actually, rook e3, just knight d5. I don't know.
Knight d5, rook h3, king g2, rook moves away, knight e7, and takes.
Yeah, that's a bit of a cold shower. That one. So bishop takes a6 has been played. Maybe you could flick in rook a7 or knight c5 first. Probably doesn't help.
Knight c5 I like actually because it pushes away the white bishop completely out of the game.
Maybe there's some option after rook e3 now.
And rook
taking-
h7, so there are too many rooks suddenly. But still knight d5, right?
Knight d5 take. And yeah,
King to g2.
now we need a square for this piece.
f7. Or rook.
Can we go this way maybe?
Yeah, you have to go rook.
I think a4 is possible.
Yeah, it's a4.
But you can go. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Jovanka, you love to push those pawns.
Yeah, because I was enamored by your knight e7 idea, which just wins material. So.
Okay, this is actually on the board. A4 not yet, but rook a7 just been played. So 2 pawns still for white, but some issues.
So white has to be careful, maybe not to allow counter chance. Like if rook f2 is defending the pawn on a2, then rook a3, and then the 2 rooks on the other. Yeah, on the third, maybe there are some counter chances, but that's why I completely agree with Jovanka's a4.
But rook f2 was played, so maybe now rook a3. Ooh.
But probably it would have been better not to allow.
Yeah. So
after knight e7, knight e7, king f7, white takes the bishop, takes back. And the bishop is, probably bishop c6, but then knight e3. I mean, I think it is more difficult now to win.
Yeah, maybe give a check or something and then knight d3.
But black was not playing rook a3. He went king f8.
King f8.
Oh, yeah,
so
something
So
Vincent
king f8.
played it.
Rook e2, yeah, rook a3. Yeah, these checks give nothing now for white. Yeah, you're right. I think he has misplayed it. There's threats like knight e6 sometimes.
And don't forget that the bishop on b5 is like you have a piece down. And now white has to be worried about some checkmate patterns from. And he has 17 seconds.
Yeah, on the defensive with 17 seconds. Definitely not easy. I think you're right, Judith. Earlier, that bishop takes a6. It was your instinct to centralize the bishop.
But after knight f6, that is not approved by the bar.
Knight d3 check.
Yeah, knight d3.
He can lose this very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Instant overpressing. Yeah, it's all because of that bishop on b5. Okay, knight d3 check's been played. Okay, you have to take that, right?
You have to take it, right?
No other move, otherwise mate in one king.
Yeah, exactly. Rook takes. What a turnaround.
Yeah, unless there's some miracle with knight d7 and...
Can you do bishop d7? Oh, no, but still you've got rook f3 check.
Ooh, this is... Okay. Maybe knight back to d5, yeah.
Rook f3 check. The problem.
And
king g2, bishop f1, king g1, rook h, g3, rook g2, rook h3.
If I go here...
Well...
Feels like checkmate.
And pray.
Yeah. Pray very hard.
Don't forget the most important part in this position.
I don't think we're even threatening there's not even a perpetual. Black's king will be able to run away eventually.
Well, actually, he did move his king to e1.
Okay, so king e1.
But then rook h2.
Yeah. Ooh.
Close that net.
And then, of course, knight e3 is met by rook to e2, and it's just the end.
Played. Volodar ruthless once he got that chance.
Oh, so painful.
Yeah, and suddenly Vincent's, he's going to be up against it because if we do get a tie at the end of today, Prague is going to win.
Yep.
Prague will win the tournament because he won their head-to-head game. So now he's going to be half a point behind after this round and uphill battle.
Yeah, these are the losses which are the most painful, right? You make mistakes, you can thank to yourself. Your opponent has nothing to do with, or not much have to do with the victory.
Yeah.
Of course, okay, Volodar took his chances.
Yeah. No, big credit to him. He hung in there when it mattered. And yeah, I mentioned, Judith, maybe just that centralization of the bishop earlier that you mentioned, bishop d5 check, would have kept more control, still pawn or two up.
And
Interesting. Sorry.
So I was just going to update on the results. The Pragananda did, in fact, beat Christopher Yu. So with this loss, it is a very sad situation for Vincent because he's got the worst tiebreak and now he's trailing by half a point.
Yeah, and there we go. The result has happened. Volodar, he didn't go for that rookie 2-check, just winning the white knight. He went for checkmate instead. And impressive play.
I just wanted to say, you know, one of the players that you've seen being very impressive in the early start of the tournament, but actually crashed and burned, was Abdusatorov, and it looks like he's just lost again to Sara Kadem.
Wow, yeah, Abdusatorov really struggling to fight back after a couple of losses in a row yesterday.
Yeah, and what other games are in progress? I think we have one from Jonas Baer against Dinara Sadvakasa. Wow.
Sadvakasova, yeah. And, okay, level material, but it's a scary pawn. Holding chances for black here, do you think, Judith?
Well, I think it's not the end of the world at all. This game is for 3 results.
Yeah. Maybe F4 here. Okay, F4's played.
Yeah, F4 is so that's for draw.
Yeah. So bishop takes F4.
I mean, when I say that the game is for 3 results, it's pretty much balanced, and anybody can blunder.
Yes. It does feel like if Jonas doesn't play bishop takes F4, then he's playing with fire. So bishop takes F4 on the board. Check. And any last swindling attempts for white? No. Rook takes F4, A8, and there we go. A draw will happen any moment. Is that the last game going today? Oh, well, going in this first round of the day?
Yep.
Okay.
This is the last one, and this is a straightforward draw, and we expect the players to agree it's in.
They'll go for stalemate.
Yeah.
We've been joking, Judith, over the last couple of days that these players, they're going for the exact opposite of some of the players on the Champions Chess Tour. They'll fight out till king versus king. If they know a draw is coming, they still won't click that offer draw button.
In the chess tour also, they play sometimes until 2 kings.
True.
Time to time, but I think it's fair enough for the audience who are maybe not on such a high level. They are happy to see what is the end. It's a draw, you see, stalemate, no move for white.
Yeah, and we don't have to go into too much depth explaining.
Yeah, and you can see the standings after round 16. Pragananda now in the lead with 12.5 points, and Vincent Kmar now on 12 points. Gukesh D is in 3rd place with 11 points, and then 4th to 5th we have Volodar Mertsin with an important victory, and Christopher Yu both on 10.5 points. So it's good news for Indian fans because, of course, Pragananda taking the lead, and Gukesh, who was recently given the wild card into the World Cup. So,
and shout out to Sara Kadem, who won that game against Abdusatorov. She's now the top scoring girl. She's on 8 out of 16, very respectable score after a difficult start, I think, to the tournament.
Yeah, she did have a difficult start, so very impressive comeback from Sara. Wow, I'm just really impressed by the small amount of draws. I'm just going to check how many games finished in draws. Was it just the one? It tends to be on average one or 2.
There was a 4-round streak yesterday, Judith, where 3 of the rounds there was only 1 draw, and then the remaining round there were no draws. So, yeah, it keeps us on our toes.
Do you think it's the time limit, or do you think it's just simply the age of the participants that they just want to fight?
I think it's both, because obviously when you play a shorter time control, you play freely, I think. And especially with the youngsters, it goes up and down, right? And whenever someone has a chance, they say, okay, now it's my chance. I want to win the game. And then if the other one has the chance, okay, now I got the chance. I had the bad position. I want to win. And they are especially want to point out where they have a chance. It was a great example of this between Vincent and Volodar, right? I mean, it was really, after the opening, it was somehow very strange for me. Then it was clearly black who was doing okay. Then it was clearly white had a pawn up. Then he had 2 pawns up. And then immediately when Vincent allowed the opportunity for black to take over, he was there and hunt down the opportunity there with the 2 rooks and give all these checks. So the youngsters, they can really switch in fraction of a second. They have no problem that they had a lost position and now they are winning. They have no emotional sorry for the opponent at all. They just say, okay, I grabbed my point. It's here with me now.
And is that how you felt looking back to when you were maybe similar age to some of these players? Did you always have that ability to switch? And did you enjoy that, the kind of the thrill of rapid chess as well?
Well, I think in my youth, first of all, we had much less rapid tournaments. I played a lot of Blitz games. And there, of course, I understood that you can swindle your opponent in different ways. But later on, when I started to play rapid competitions, it was a completely different rhythm. And this is actually, I don't know what we call this, whether it's Blitz or rapid or rap blitz, or I don't know. Maybe it's rap blitz. You know?
Rap Blitz. I like that. It's got a ring to it.
because it's like you can't say it's bliss, so you just cannot bluff without thinking something, right? Because for that it's too long, but for being a rapid game it's too short. So you really have to have your mindset so focused and so alert to be sensitive on the changes, what happens from one move to another, that it's very tense. And I think those players are excelling, who are very resilient, and of course the best. I mean, we see Praga. I mean, he makes mistakes and blunders, but he bumps back quite easily.
Yeah, and do you think some of these players, being so young and having played online for the last year, a lot of Blitz, a lot of Rapid, do you think switching back to classical chess, would that be a challenge for them?
I think it can be tricky, especially in opening decisions, for example, because it has a completely different psychology. I think you're much more loosening up in your brain what kind of openings to play. First of all, when you play 4 games a day, you don't focus so much on the opening preparation, and you have to make your decisions in a second. Okay, now what was it? And of course, you make your decisions after finishing your game. You don't make a preparation beforehand. And of course, when Vincent makes such a blunder as he did now, probably in the next game, he needs like few minutes to calm down again, and then tries to give the best he can. But it's just, I think many times it just comes by intuition that what his mouse is playing, right? So it is very tricky, I think, to switch back to over-the-board classical games.
Mm.
Yeah, certainly with the long time controls and the, because we're so used to playing by intuition, instincts, and like Judith says, sometimes the hand, especially for me. And well, I blame the hand. It's made the move before I've even considered, and normally that's followed by a howl of anguish as I realized I blundered. But okay. No, I mean, but it's all instinctive, and so you will have to adjust when you play classical chess, and you do have to kind of go, well, I actually have 2 hours now. It will seem like an unfathomably long period of time.
Yeah, and Judith, if online chess was more prominent when you were playing, do you think you would have embraced it? Would you have? How would your mouse skills have been?
I would adjust myself without any problem. Of course, I understand that it's a completely different situation, because you don't have this psychological battle with your opponent sitting across to the board. But I think there are different psychology, probably, because first of all, you have to be very much open to these things, and it's like with your internet connection, with all kind of technical issues also to be aware of, and still you have to have very good nerves. I think that if something goes wrong, how do you handle it? That you lost connection, you lost the game because of completely outside of your involvement, right? So it is a completely different game. I would, of course, be there and fight there and enjoy, I think. But it is a very different game. But by now, I think within a year and a half, in the past year and a half, most of the players who were playing and competing with all the difficulties and questions, still they just adjusted themselves. And I think this is the chess community, which during the COVID, it was very visible in every field, that we are resilient the way that, okay, we play chess in the circumstances which is given and which is possible. So they're quite fine with that. I mean, one thing is very strange for me, for example, that many of the youngsters, they play bullet blitz. And I know that when you play bullet blitz or even blitz, that it's allowed in the programs to make your move with your mouse without your opponent making the move. And then, so that's how you're sparing time, right? Seconds. And those things I don't like anymore, because it seems like it's like you're really trying to outsmart your opponent, the technology, everything.
You end up outsmarting yourself half the time, I think, when you pre-move. We had a case of that just a couple of days ago. I pre-moved and it was a mouse slip and disaster.
Yeah, you cost us a queen.
I lost my queen, yeah.
But no, actually, I mean, that is a real art, and it does feel like it's something aside from chess, because I remember watching Magnus Carlsen take on all the challengers of the Julius Baer Challenge Chess Tour, and he beat them all in the pre-move stage, you know, with seconds on the clock. It was so impressive, but it didn't quite feel like chess.
His experience, though, Magnus has been flagging his opponents for years, probably since before some of the players were born. So, Judith, any predictions now for the rest of the event, or even for the rest of the tour? Do you think who do you think is going to come out on top this time?
Well, it's it's different. If you would have asked this before the round, it would be maybe a different answer. Well, of course, Prague is always there, and I think he feels it, that he grabs his opportunity, he takes the lead, and it's only a few more rounds to go. So I'm not sure about the pairings, and that, of course, makes a difference. But, well, I would want very much that Vincent wins, and then he gets the opportunity to play in the Champions Chess Tour. But it depends a lot how they will handle psychologically also, because for Vincent, it is very difficult to put himself together and play his next game. Because, I mean, losing his first...
Yeah. And we Judith, we know we have to go, but thank you so much for having us on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here and to have you analyze with us. Thank you so much. And well, we'll probably take a short break, and we'll be back soon.
That's been a pleasure, Judith. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Super discounts on merchandise. Massive sales on courses from Chessable. Chessable and Chess24 bundles, with new deals appearing every day. Visit chess24.com/deals.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ, with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Gelfand and co will help you improve your chess. Play versus a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
Let's take someone with a random account, with a random name that just seems attractive.
Play live online against the world's top chess players while they stream their thoughts live. As a Chess24 Premium member, seize the chance to have your moment of fame. Get a peek inside their lives with question and answer sessions, in-depth teaching, analysis and interviews. The Champions Chess Tour, with countless accompanying events, is happening now. Tune in on Chess24.
And welcome back to game 17 of the Gelfand Challenge. And boy, that was such an exciting round, David.
Yeah, so much excitement, some decisive results, and of course, having the legend that is Judith Polgar with us. It's been fantastic. And just before we jump into round 17, we do have a quiz question for today. And I think there we go. The quiz question: which super strong Uzbek teen became the second youngest GM in history in 2017? And to answer that, you can go to Instagram, to the Champions Chess Tour page, and you could potentially win 3 months of Chess24 premium membership, where you can watch the lessons of these fantastic coaches that the young players are getting, and also Banter, Blitz, and plenty more content.
Yeah. Train like a champ, David. Play like a champ. That is the tagline. And no, such a fantastic prize. Oh, and the games are off, and you can see Gukesh against Pragnanda, so it's all Indian matchup. And yeah, let's race through these moves.
Yes, yeah, so we have seen the Vienna variation of the Queen's Gambit. And okay, we have the moves coming thick and fast. This is all very well-known stuff. I've actually seen Gukesh play this before, and wow, Pragnananda reacting very, very quickly. White's last move, pushing h4, that is very modern. That is definitely the computer type of move that AlphaZero would recommend. Hoping, actually, if Black hadn't played knight before, hoping that if Black castles, for example, that maybe White could build up some kind of attack. But instead, knight b4 by Prag, and we get the first real think of the game from Gukesh. So materialist level, earlier Black grabbed a pawn on c4. That's the beginning of the Vienna, but then he gave back a pawn on b5. And now White's knight, having grabbed that pawn, does jump back, and knight d5. Personally, I quite like these positions for White. I think having this kind of very far advanced pawn gives you attacking chances on the king side. But Black does have his trumps as well. Black has this very, very strong outpost on d5. He's going to use that as a launching pad for all of his pieces.
And have you seen this idea with h4? Because I'm just checking the Chess24 database, not being played. Yeah. I mean, normally, normally you see White castle, kingside, and make a move like queen c1 to support the bishop.
Yeah, castle and queenside.
But yeah, exactly, castle, yeah.
But instead, yeah, h4. It's interesting, actually, because I think it was Surya Ganguly who said Gukesh, who's playing White in this game, he very rarely uses, or until recently, he never used a computer to prepare, to study chess. But h4 is very much a computer type of move. So he must have come up with this h4 idea in conjunction with a computer when he was studying. But yeah, I guess if you're not too experienced using these computers, then sometimes it is difficult to back up these ideas that engines suggest. And that's why maybe he's thinking right now. These two also, we should mention, they know each other extremely well. They're pretty much the same age. They've taken part in training camps together. Yeah, I mean, two fantastic prodigies. And Prag, reacting to this rare h4 idea, he reacted instantly. So I'm just curious whether Gukesh may be following the idea of one of his coaches, but Pragnananda aware of that, reacting with knight b4, knight d5. Black's idea is very simple. He's going to play bishop b7 or bishop a6, and then queen d7, maybe even castle queenside if he needs to, but he'll keep that option open as long as possible where to put the black king.
And would you capture the knight on the center? Because I know in certain other situations you are recommended just to capture the knight. Okay, but we have a move, bishop d2.
Yeah, I guess if White had captured the knight, then, okay, either it helps speed up Black's development with queen takes d5. Black could even possibly consider e takes d5, opening up this bishop along this diagonal. But yeah, I think no need to rush with taking the pieces off after bishop d2. White's hoping, usually in these lines, that he'll build up an attack on the king side or the queen side, depending where Black castles. And I guess if you trade pieces, then less likely to attack. So bishop d2, a flexible move, but it does feel maybe slightly in the wrong direction. Bishop e3 was played just a few moves ago, so bishop d2 feels, yeah, it feels like a bit of a loss of time.
It does certainly do that. Okay, so what is Black going to do? Where to put the king?
I would leave this decision as long as possible.
Yeah, but you know, yeah, okay. So the happy move would be to develop the bishop. To b7 looks the most natural to me.
And we should mention that I think it was also possible on the last move, but often White is actually able to grab a pawn with a move like bishop takes c4. But you usually don't want to do this because after knight takes c4, queen a4 check with a fork, queen d7, and yes, you've won a pawn as White, but okay, if, for example, knight b6, you've given Black all of the light squares, and this bishop is just a beast now.
Yeah, and that is not a good trade, so you don't want to be doing that. Instead, I would...
Yeah. So if bishop b7, for example.
So bishop b7, and what is White doing? I mean, because... I mean, is the idea to go and kind of...
Maybe
yeah, h5 could be a nice idea.
Yeah. h5 to try and put the pawn on h6. Usually if that pawn gets blocked off, then White has another maneuver in mind of rook h3, rook g3, trying to attack this weak pawn, or this backward pawn now.
I always laugh at that maneuver, but I saw it done very
Rook left.
successfully in the A Wonders game in the day one. But it's almost like a beginner has taken up chess.
Beginner's luck. Sometimes that's the best way. You see a weak pawn, you go for it. You forget that you can castle.
I mean, I don't know, were your experiences as beginner the same? It's for H4, Rook H3, Rook somewhere.
I was told very strictly by my first few coaches, you never push your rook's pawns, get your king castled every game. But this is modern chess. This is different now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this is White's idea. Because if you don't go for this type of idea, I mean, why have you played H4 simply? If you have a castle, this pawn's just on pre.
Okay, but one of the kind of thematic ideas is that if your opponent starts working on the wings, you should react in the center.
Okay, so if, for example, H5, you want to react in the center, or?
Yeah, I think I might stop you with H6.
H6 first, yeah.
Yeah.
If Rook H3.
And let's go.
C5 or?
C5, yeah.
C5, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to maybe trade these pawns, but then White will gain a bit of time with a move like knight E4, unless you have some knight E3 discovery with your bishop against the knight in E4. But yeah, okay, for example, Rook G3. The reason I quite like this for White is because instead of castling, you just do it by hand. You spend a few more moves, but your rook is much more active in G3 than it would be on F1. So I think there's no rush to castle. And
yeah, I mean, definitely it's now that we're playing it through, it is definitely much more dangerous than it appears, especially in conjunction with that pawn on E5.
Yeah.
I mean, that pawn on E5 really clamps down Black's potential flexibility. And I mean, it's not that easy to defend G7.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Across so many squares, right? D6 is an outpost for White's knight later on as well. So Bishop D2, very flexible. Maybe Prag, okay, he's having a long think here, which is maybe a bit worrying for Prag fans, but maybe he's just considering what the best move order is for Black. For example, Bishop B7 or Bishop A6, I'm not sure. Then H5, maybe he's just considering just ignoring it, going Queen D7, castling as soon as possible. And yeah, the game would continue.
Yeah. And David, I'm keeping my eye on the chat, especially on the YouTube chat. And we have some news in terms of the football, because I know that England, Croatia, 0-0.
That's the important one. Yeah, England, we need revenge for the 2018 World Cup. But
okay,
meanwhile, we have had a development in this game. Knight takes C3 was played. So Prag just trying to simplify things, taking on C3. You mentioned actually, Jovanka, that White might take that knight. So White has forced Black to do it. And so it's been on White's terms. White's been able to improve his pawn structure, but Black still has this monster square on D5. He can use that for his queen, his rook, not rook, anything other than the rook, basically his queen, his knight, or his bishop.
Yeah, but still there's nothing to stop the same plan. I mean, I like the plan even more now that the center has been stabilized, because look, there's no tension whatsoever. That normally is a sign, hey, go and work your magic on the wings.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, ever since AlphaZero started playing H4, H5 in every position, I mean, all the top players do it now too. And Magnus has done this H4, H5 in very similar lines, also in some Queen's Gambits. Mamedyarov as well, H5, these ideas. So, and, yeah, okay, H6 played. You don't really want to allow H6 yourself as Black, because then that pawn's going to be a thorn in your side forever. So, okay, Rook H3 on the board immediately by Gukesh. We did mention this is maybe a computer idea, H4 in that position, but he's backing it up very nicely. Now, very just natural human plan. Just go for this pawn. It's actually quite hard to defend that guy. It feels, if you castle kingside now, that looks like you're self-destructing after Rook G3. You have to move the king out of the pin, and then there's always going to be ideas just of Queen C1. Attacking this pawn. So
yeah, this looks like a very dangerous Caro-Kann. I mean, I'm familiar with this type of pawn structure, but like I said, there's no pawn on E5 cutting the board in half, so too dangerous.
Too dangerous. And what happens if Black tries to maybe go the other way? Maybe there's an issue here after Rook G3. How do you defend this pawn? Can't defend it any.
Maybe you don't.
Way. Maybe you don't, but if you castle queenside,
maybe you can take
pawn.
Yeah. How to defend it?
I mean, you could get an open file, maybe the other rook to G8, sorry.
Yeah.
But then even if I trade and then just go King F1, for example, I don't really see any immediate counterplay for Black.
No. The pieces are all offside. Something needs to be... Okay, what about if you're going to go with the king to the queen side? What about if you just go...
In the current position?
No. Before that, maybe you go Bishop F8.
Oh, okay. So after Rook G3, Bishop F8 to defend this?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. But then your bishop's always tied down to this pawn and then the rook's trapped boxed in. I mean, maybe that's the best of a difficult situation. We might well see something like this because Queen D7 was played instead of Queen D5.
Mm-hmm.
Rook G3 is automatic pretty much here. If you played Rook H3, you might as well play Rook G3, right?
Definitely. And it's on. Is it on the board?
Not on the board yet. I'm just putting it on the board. Sorry, I'm getting excited. We should mention it's not possible yet to defend the pawn with your rook, for example, because of bishop takes h6.
Yeah.
This is a common idea, and you can't defend it this way either because just Queen C2 and
yeah.
Ouch.
That is painful stuff there, David.
Yeah.
We don't want to look at that.
I'm not sure I want to look at Black's position at all, to be honest.
No, it's gone quickly wrong. Surprisingly. I mean,
simple plan as well by White.
Right. I mean, the only thing that I can think of is castling queenside and trying to go for some f5. But I mean, Rook G.
Yeah, castle queenside taken. Yeah, you can't play f5 immediately, unfortunately. But
wow.
I mean, Rook f8 feels too slow to break out with f6. It's never going to be quick enough.
No, but I mean, the white king is perfectly safe.
Yeah, all the pieces around it, right? So, yeah, Prague. I mean, we've seen actually there's been a bit of a curse on the leaders throughout this whole tournament. A Wonder Liang on 6 out of 6. He was leading clearly, then he lost 3 games in a row. Then Abdusatorov took over the lead, lost a few games.
Yeah.
Prague took over the lead. Then yesterday he lost 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Vincent took the lead. He lost. Now Prague's back. But will we see him in trouble?
It's a little bit insane. Yeah, he does look like Pragnander is in big trouble. On that note, should we go and have a look at how Vincent Kamar is doing against Polina Shivalova?
Yes. And okay, so this game looks like it started with a Sicilian Najdorf, just judging from the pawn structure. And okay, this is very tense. Most of the pieces still on the board. I do like the fact that kind of Black's been able to kick back White's knight to d2, and now planting a knight on c5. This pawn structure for Black is fantastic if you can get kind of f5, e4 later maybe. I guess there's an immediate threat to bishop f5 as well. Looks pretty good for Vincent, to be honest. What's this bishop doing on d1? I don't really understand.
It's going to go to c2.
So how are you going to do that though? Queen b1?
Unfortunately, yes.
Might have to. Okay, f3 played by Shivalova, f3. So the idea now is bishop f5, knight e4.
Okay.
Makes sense?
It makes sense. I mean, yeah, the bishop is going to get to c2 regardless. It does look like a great position for Black, but on the other hand, it's not winning.
What next? Yeah, that's the issue sometimes in these Sicilians. And White does have a plan himself to slowly, push at some point b4 and eventually destabilize the Black knight. If you can kind of kick back that Black knight from c5, then White's doing very well. But right now, time is level. Vincent in the move. What would you be tempted to do here, Jovanka? In an ideal world, you get 1 extra move, then you play b5 or something like this. But maybe bishop d7, maybe just knight e4. And without the knight in c5, Black's position is much less harmonious.
Well, now I have to do something about the d6 pawn, so...
I mean, you don't need to start with bishop d7 after f3. If you start with f5, though, then...
Unplayed.
Yeah. Logical. I would expect knight e4 here.
Knight e4.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can take a timeout now to play bishop c2 ideas because b5 is just too quick.
It's a little bit passive to play queen b1. Knight e4 has to be... And then...
Maybe Vincent will just take it. Take this knight. Do you take that with the pawn? Probably.
Yeah.
You could take that with the queen maybe, but if you take that with the pawn, I don't know, queen c7 or rook c8.
I kind of like...
b5 coming.
Yeah, I kind of like taking with the queen. Because I feel like if I take back with the pawn, my position has kind of lost its flexibility.
Sure.
And the move I really want to play was f4.
Okay, so maybe later keeping this option open.
Yeah, keep it up, keep it open, and then... Although... If
I kick you back.
Yeah. The queen goes back somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know, if maybe just slightly easier for Black to play. It's probably balanced, but slightly easier for Black to play.
It is easier, isn't it?
Build up and b5 at some point.
Just with a plan.
Yeah, there's a plan at least.
And this is, especially with no time, not too much time on the clock, you really do need, you need to be like, what's the character in Blackadder who always has a plan?
Baldric.
Baldric, yeah.
You need a cunning plan.
You always need that because otherwise it's just time to panic.
Yeah, and talking of a plan, Vincent's fulfilled his plan. He's After b4, a couple of moves ago, after bishop d7, b4 en passant, takes, b5. Yeah, it looks like Black's achieved his plan. He's just, if he gets one more move, plays b takes c4, b4, then the black knight wasn't an outpost. So knight e4 challenging the black knight. Shall we revisit the game Gukesh against Pragnanda? Okay, so this one looking okay for Vincent, but still a lot of work to do to carve out some kind of advantage. Shuvalova is very, very solid in this position. I like her move, knight e4 on the last go. Okay, so there have been some developments. We left it after bishop f8 was played just to defend this pawn, but now Black's super passive on the king side. Okay, so, so bishop e3, back to e3, bishop doing a bit of a dance. Bishop d5, a4, a5. Black needs to keep the knight on b6, knight d2. Okay, so bishop e3 clearing the knight, the d2 square for the knight makes a lot of sense. Rook b1, rook back to a8. So a4 wasn't on pre because there was a pin on the b file. Now Pragnanda is saying, okay, I'm threatening this pawn.
But is he?
Good question. Is he actually threatening that pawn? I guess maybe queen takes a4 is a threat. So, for example, queen c2, and taking with the knight looks a bit loose, but queen takes a4 maybe. Yeah. Yeah. The question is if Gukesh now goes back to a1 and Black plays rook b8 again, has actually White, although the position's repeated itself, has White gained something because Black can never castle queenside anymore, and he definitely can't castle queenside anymore. So why not in this position maybe just make a move like king f1?
King f1, yeah.
Tuck the king away to safety and then decide on what action to take.
But what happens after bishop c6?
Yeah, bishop c6. I guess knight takes c4.
And
bishop a4, I don't know.
Yeah, bishop a4. I mean,
yeah, maybe I shouldn't play king f1 because now after takes. This is check. That's annoying. So, okay, rook a1 was played by Gukesh, and okay, Prag isn't the one to repeat this time. I mean, as Black here, I would love to take the draw, but Prag, maybe with an eye on the tournament situation, plays queen c6 instead. King f1 immediately by Gukesh, defending this pawn. Very sensible. Yeah, I mean, I think Prag, actually, if he thinks about it, there's 3 rounds to go. Vincent needs to score 1 point more than him in order to win the tournament because of this better head-to-head score if they end on the same number of points. So Prag actually, if he gets 2 out of 3 in these final 3 games, he's won the tournament. So taking too many risks in this one probably isn't too productive. And okay, knight c8, he's trying to get to f5. That's a clever idea. But yeah, I was just slightly worried that by not repeating there, maybe he just thought there was a better move than rook b8, but by not repeating, he's showing that actually he really, really wants to win this game when, if anyone, Black is the one who needs to take the time out to be solid. And okay, knight c8.
You don't like it, David? I don't
know. It feels as if there's something for White. Okay, queen b1. Just my spidey senses are tingling that White has a way to just kill Black's only plan now. Black only has this one plan of knight f5. What happens if, at the very least, I just play bishop g4? Okay,
do it. Bishop g5, and now, sorry, bishop g4, and then... Okay, it's tricky to find a move.
It's very tricky to find a move for Black. I mean, you can't play rook b8 anymore, so that queen b1 was quite a nice idea by Gukesh.
Maybe
you have to keep an eye on this pawn, so you can't kind of play, for example, queen b7.
Maybe I could do king...
king d7?
King d7.
Maybe.
You know, try to set up some kind of g5s or g6s.
Yeah, true, actually. Maybe this is an active plan, but semi-active plan for Black. It could backfire, but it might be the only one to...
Well, it's actually difficult to hold still, isn't it? You know, if you were to just wait with king to g1 or something, and then Black has to do something.
Yeah, Black has to do something. It's not clear what. Maybe you can play rook a7, rook b7. I don't know. Okay, so wow, Prag didn't go for knight e7 there. That is very, very surprising. So White has just gained some free moves. He went knight c8 last move, Prag, and now he's gone back to b6 with his knight. That's a sign that he knows things have gone a bit wrong.
Okay.
He's attacking this pawn, but I mean, for example, if White just defends it, queen c2 or just bishop d1, for example.
I quite like bishop d1.
Reroute this bishop around.
Exactly, because, you know, using the kind of principle of improve your worst place piece, that bishop is
Exactly.
okay. So what happens if Prague goes? Okay, right, I'm going to go back. Knight C.
Knight C8.
Well, actually, that doesn't look great either.
Yeah, but now if the bishop on C2 covers the F5 square, so the knight will never have a feature there. I mean, maybe black could try rook B8 here, but I don't really see any discovery after bishop C2. Black rook's undefended, so the only discovered attack on the white queen is knight B7, but now you just move this queen A2 or C1.
Yeah. And the time situation is that Pragnanda has just under 1 minute on the clock. So that's something to think about as well, because, you know, well, Gukesh playing rook A2, and then finally we have a decision. Okay, so knight takes A4 on the board.
Is the idea queen A1?
Has to be.
Has to be queen A1, this pawn under attack. I'm very surprised Gukesh allowed this because
it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, and also, practical terms, if you're putting it short on the clock, why give him something concrete to look for? Just play bishop d1, make him spend 20 seconds coming up with a plan. Don't let him calculate in the space of 5-10 seconds.
But it's human nature, David. We want concrete variations. We don't like the
gotta fight nature. Yeah, so now queen a1, okay, has been played. It must be the idea to defend this pawn and to regain the a5 pawn, so knight b6. Okay, so maybe he felt he was ready, Gukesh, more ready than black at least for this concrete action, but why is he pausing now? Why is he not just taking this pawn off with rook takes a5? Because if he doesn't, then suddenly black is just going to push a4, a3.
Yeah, you have to take it.
I did notice Gukesh earlier, he spent about a minute playing rook g3 after he'd already played rook h3, which was the only logical follow-up. And now he's spending a lot of time on queen a1 and now this rook takes a5 move when those were the only logical follow-ups to his earlier rook a2 move. So maybe some practical improvements can be made there on the use of the clock. And also he's shaking his head, so I don't really see why not rook takes a5 right now. Okay, he played it eventually, but after losing some of his time advantage.
One thing that Surya Ganguly said, who's actually the coach for the Julius Baer Challengers chess tour, he said that Gukesh had a tendency to get into time trouble.
Yeah.
And you even said that your experience as well.
Yeah, when I played him in Gibraltar, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? No, just over 2 years ago. Yeah, he was down to 1 minute after 15 moves as white. So maybe a bit of a perfectionist, but in rapid chess, you just got to be practical. Well,
we have a decision here because queen a4 on the board, and Prague is trying to take the game into an endgame, but it does come at the cost.
Ooh, could you play knight takes c4 here?
Right.
As white.
Bishop takes, and then queen takes queen.
Check, luckily. Luckily. Okay, knight takes c4 has been played.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily for white, this is check before black has a chance to check himself. But now after knight takes, bishop takes, knight takes c3, is there a follow-up for white? That's the question. If black gets like 2 moves, if he gets like king d7, c6, gets his knight back here, then he's probably just completely fine.
I mean, but no, is your king fine, though?
I'm not sure it's fine.
I don't think your king is fine at all.
You think bishop d2 here?
Bishop d2 is my move, yeah.
But bishop d2 maybe walks into a fork.
Knight e4.
Maybe you can attack without...
Maybe move it a different bishop, even c1.
Attacking this knight?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
and then the rook swings across, and then
suddenly, wow.
Wow, look at your king.
Yeah.
And then you have to go f.
Maybe you can hide out on d7, but this is going to be an eternal type of pin. Or okay, at least you'll win something. Maybe black can try g6, but
you have to go
feels
g6.
Like,
yeah,
feels like you're going to win something as white.
You can go bishop h6.
Oh, bishop h6. See, that's very flashy.
Yeah,
maybe you take everything here,
first,
and then
bishop.
You win a pawn at the end. And yeah, this should be I think winning for white. But
yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, this has happened. 95. Oh. We're a prediction game on point. I don't know whether white should flick in this check or not. It's very tempting. But rook b3 just rook b3. There's knight b6.
Okay, so then
so the 2 moves you can consider are check and maybe take on d5, and then rook b3.
So you can take on d5 first.
Okay, he's actually played rook b3 first as we first.
Okay, but then knight b6 is a problem.
But check. The black king's not happy. There's always rook back to f3. Now rook back to... This is so clever. He's lured the knight away from d5 so that now f6 isn't an issue. When the knight was on d5.
But now the king can go to king e7, and it's okay. No, I know it's ugly.
Yep. He's played it. He's played ugly moves. We mentioned earlier with Judith, sometimes ugly moves, they're necessary, right?
Right. Now F3 turns out to be a great move. Okay, but is there something concrete here?
Feels like there must be.
There must be like something. I was thinking bishop
check.
A3 and then bishop C5.
Yeah, bishop C5 looks very strong. It's pawn. I mean, maybe black has to try to take. Oh wait, you can't even go knight D7.
His rook D3.
Yeah.
Give me your knight, David.
Yeah, and then actually this pawn's just dropping and game over. So, yeah, bishop A3 and bishop C5. He doesn't find it, but he doesn't. Okay, rook C3. I was going to say he doesn't necessarily need to find it because king D8 repeats the position. So Gukesh just repeating once. Bishop F4.
Oh, what's that all about?
He must have missed your bishop C5 move, Jovanka, because bishop F4, I mean, his idea is to go here and try and checkmate, but it looks super slow. Now black's going to get the knight back to D5 with tempo if he needs.
Okay.
That's a relief for Pragnananda, that last move, probably.
Okay. Knight D5 on the board, bishop B3. Let me just check
bishop
up
G3,
on... Sorry, bishop G3.
Yeah, I mean, what a bad square that bishop's on now. F5. If Pragnananda saves this game, he'll feel that it's his tournament to win. He's been in so much trouble. Gukesh on the brink of winning, but just no time. And F5. Okay, rook A3. I like that move. He's found a bit, maybe the plan he should have stumbled across a bit earlier on to get the rook to the 8th rank. Okay, knight B6, stopping the rook.
Yep.
But now, is there just a checkmate? Okay, he gives the check. Next move, rook A7.
Yep, king F7, rook A7.
What's Prag thinking about here?
Knight D5.
Okay, but he seemed to think for a few seconds on king F7. Anything else would have led to checkmate next move.
Okay, he's got...
So rook A7.
Oh, no, he's played bishop E7.
Because knight D5, maybe there was just the option of rook A8. Okay, so white's about to... Wow, sneaky by Prag. Knight C8. What about bishop C5 here?
Yes.
Bishop C5. Looks winning for white.
Okay, and it's on the board, David.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is totally winning for white.
Yeah, white's bishops are going to protect all of their pawns. That's the key.
And two bishops or two extra attackers, they can move all across the board. It is bad news for Pragnananda.
Okay, rook H1 maybe.
Yeah.
Best try.
You can also coast over. You have a passed pawn. You can go E D5.
Maybe
D5 and then bishop D7.
Okay, you want either order.
Yeah.
D5 feels maybe a bit looser because there's options. There's rook C1 and things. But yeah, D5 anyway, and this type of idea. And
yes, but that's the idea.
Yeah.
You got to be careful on execution, but
the bishop are going to hold the hand of that pawn.
But he played bishops.
C4 still looks...
C4, I was expecting bishop D7.
Still looks decent, but he has allowed C6.
Bishop A6, but now he has to go rook B.
The long way around. This is the type of thing I would do. Know it's a winning position, but just not find that killer blow and then maybe later on panic. But I don't think Gukesh is going to panic. After maybe a small slip earlier, he's
but this is the type of position that you and another, I think it was Anna Mazichuk said, you can just simply make a few moves, build up the time on your clock, and then when you're ready, you can strike.
Yeah, exactly. And Gukesh is going to be ready to strike soon, and he does with D5.
Now it's happening.
Yeah, defending this pawn, that's the key as well. Yeah, I think this is the type of position, you definitely want a breakthrough if you can, because you don't want to allow black's pawns to start running, and then you have to worry about counterplay. But look at Prag's face. He knows he's losing now. D6, that pawn is running home.
It's going to cost a rook, and without the game, so there's nothing they can do because it's just two extra pieces just to coast that passed pawn home.
Yeah, D7, bishop B6.
Okay, yeah.
We'll start with bishop B6 now. Okay.
D4.
Yeah. D7. It's going to end the game.
Now it's kind of happening.
Wow, it's definitely the curse of the leader, and okay, Vincent's still in action. So
let's have a look.
If white plays bishop D6 here, I think we can move on to Vincent's game. Okay, he does. White's about to make a queen. Oh, look at Prag. He's frustrated. He's annoyed at himself maybe because that game he fought back into it.
Yeah, and there we have the result. So let's move over quickly to Vincent's game. He's playing with the black pieces against Paulina Shuvalova. And wow.
Okay, can black avoid the draw though if Shuvalova keeps checking the black king? Queen D8 played, because Actually, if you want to play for the win, you have to play bishop f8, but then bishop f8, will that just be met by bishop e7?
Yes, and that was going to be followed by d6.
Yeah, and black can give all the checks he wants, but at the end of the day, you might have to take a perpetual because of the bishop here. Yeah, I don't see any way to escape that. Shivalova finding a way to counter. Nice way to counter there.
Queen g, yeah, you can just put your king on f1. I mean,
as long as you're slightly careful where you put your king and you don't allow f3 with check.
Yes, but you don't do that.
No.
King anywhere. I'm thinking g1.
G1 looks safe. Yeah, there's no way to pick up any pawns like the b3 pawn or anything with check. So
yeah, you need to kind of somehow queen on g7, but that's not going to happen. Or you need to introduce a new piece.
Or maybe you could be sneaky, put a queen on c2 check and hope that white goes to the h file so you can go queen h7. Yeah, that's it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vincent just giving lots of checks here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Vincent and Prag, they might be on the same score with 2 games to go, but Vincent needs to outscore Prag if that's the case.
And then it's going to be all about like whether Prag can recover from his loss.
He's lost a few, but he's recovered every time. Pragnananda in this tournament so far.
Interestingly enough, I was watching Gelfand's session with his students, and he's the coach of Pragnananda. And they discussed this exact topic. And Gelfand just said, you know, you just have to keep calm. You have to do something different. Okay, so she has played bishop takes pawn.
Okay, that's very clever, actually. d6 was maybe more natural, but that would have left black with more options. So bishop takes c5. Vincent, yeah, he's forced to give more checks. Not much to show here.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed with that bishop being on c5 rather than e7. The only thing that's changed is maybe black's taking more risk if he tries to play for the win. So king back to the back rank now, and it should be a draw by repetition. Okay, this is the last game going of the round as well. So key for the standings. King f1. Yeah, Vincent, he's been taught well. He's giving those diagonal checks, but this time it's not good enough. And not sufficient, at least, to win.
Yeah, king to g1.
King g1, check again. He's going to start running out of different checks soon.
Yeah, and the great thing is that you don't have to keep a note of when the position's being repeated 3 times. The computer, the application does it all for you.
YouTube online chess, right? Okay, king h2. Ooh, Vincent maybe could have tried the same check to try and lure the king to h2 when his queen was on a different square earlier, but because queen h7 check would have been an issue if white's bishop was on e7, but not anymore. Yeah, and Vincent, just judging from body language, he knows it's a draw. Just going through the motions. Would you just take the draw here and save your energy, Jovanka, for the next game?
Well, now that white has demonstrated where to put her king, absolutely take the draw. Okay, well now there's one final trick here. don't get ready with the auto move of playing king h2. But okay, Polina sees that, king f1.
What was wrong with king h2 there?
Wasn't there queen h2? Ah, there was nothing wrong.
Bishop's on c5 now.
C5, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, yeah, Polina defending this one very, very well. Okay, more checks. I think we've seen this position before.
Yeah, some people in chat saying that they think also that Kima shouldn't be wasting time and energy trying to find a needle in the haystack. I quite like that expression.
Yeah, and he doesn't find that needle in the haystack. He does just make the draw instead. And now Vincent doesn't have too long to recover, too long before the next round. He does make the draw. So he's back on top with Prag, but he's behind, remember, on that head-to-head. And there we see the results.
Yeah, and you can see Paulina Shivalova drew against Vincent Kama, and Zansaya Abdulmalik beat Gunay Mamadzada. And other notable results, of course, is Gukesh beating Pragnananda, and Christopher Yu, who was in 3rd place, he lost to Jonas Baer. So what is going to happen with the standings?
Yeah, again, lots of more decisive games. And as we mentioned, Pragnananda, Vincent Kama on top. Actually, only half a point behind now is Gukesh. So he's making a late surge, a late charge.
So if something goes wrong with the top 2 spots and Gukesh manages to win the rest of his games,
you never know.
Now that would be totally unpredictable.
Because they're in the awkward situation. They know they're neck and neck with each other. They're both going to be pushing for the win. And if both of them overpress, suddenly Gukesh leapfrogs them. Yes, they have a half-point head start with only 2 games to go, but don't write him off yet, for sure.
Definitely.
And we also saw Kramnik, Team Kramnik, with 80 to Team Polgar's 90 there. So it does look in the bag now for Team Polgar.
Which means they would have won two of their challenges.
Yeah.
So it looks like Team Polgar is nearly there to that trip to Dubai.
Yeah,
Such a good prize, all expenses paid to Dubai.
Imagine when you were a teenager, Jovanka, just seeing a world championship up close. It's inspiring, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you weren't. You weren't there. There was, of course, the '93 match between Nigel Shaw and
I was
Gary
3 years old. I could have been there.
I know, but that was absolutely insane because it took the whole of the English public by storm. You know, we absolutely followed everything that happened. For the first time ever in my life, I was popular at school. They were all asking me to play chess in the breaks, you know, so yeah, you really want to be up close and personal and get to where the real action is.
Yeah, and I'm just taking a peek at some of the other games. Yeah, so many wins. And we should also mention Sarah Kardem as well, who was the top girl before that round, winning again against Carissa Yep. So she's winning, she's leading now from the girls. And those are the results. A lot of black wins in this round. What is it? Can I count right? 5 black wins, 3 draws, and only 2 wins for white. It's definitely throwing away the stereotype that it's the advantage to have white in these rapid games. And that hasn't been the case throughout the tournament. We saw many rounds where black has been in charge.
Yeah, black has totally been okay. Yeah, and I'm still shocked by the amount of draws. There's so few of them. 3 draws, kind of unheard of in most tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. How's chat doing? Have we had any comments about maybe any predictions about who's going to win now? Because it's no longer just a 2-horse race. It's maybe a 3-horse race with Gukesh entering last minute.
Yeah. So yeah, I will put that question to chat. What do you think about the 2-horse race with Gukesh now suddenly entering the competition? That was totally unexpected because at the start of today, I would not have dreamt that Gukesh would even be a name. I mean, the statistics we had worked out were for Pragananda, Kima, you.
Yeah, and Christopher, you had 1% chance of winning. Also, I've got to have a pause to celebrate myself because I've just heard news that England have scored in the European Championship match against Croatia. So there's drama everywhere, not just on the chessboard, not just in the Gelfand Challenge, also in the Euros.
How did you hear that, David?
I have my sources.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of people cheering for Pragananda, and also Vincent has its supporters. One lone voice is saying Gukesh.
Gukesh.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's been very impressive. I mean, I'm really like that opening that he chose against Pragananda. I mean, it was totally new, and it seemed to just, dare I say, almost refute the setup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to do some opening studying. I know anyone who plays this variation of the Vienna is going to have to study that game in a lot of detail. And Gukesh, we heard about him a couple of days ago in a bit of detail from Ganguly, and yeah, here we go. Perfect timing. We do have a tweet. So Chess24 did tweet yesterday that Ganguly pointing out Gukesh became a grandmaster without using engines at all, and only started using them recently in the last year during lockdown.
Yeah.
And
look at that quote by Vishnu. This is like climbing Everest without oxygen during an avalanche in nothing but your pajamas. Yeah.
I mean, if you can climb Everest like that, you can climb you can do anything.
I'll let you in on a secret, actually. Some of my friends actually deliberately didn't take their computers with them to the tournament. One of them just took their opening repertoire book and they ended up scoring an IM norm. Another one actually ended up nearly winning the British Championship.
Okay.
He told me with Craig Hanley.
Craig Hanley. Well, okay. In 2017.
In 2017, yeah. I was having a chat with him. He said, my computer's not working. My laptop is busted. I'm here with my family. I'm going to play golf in the morning. I'm just going to make sure I've got my chessboard. So I'm just going to go through my openings like that. And
sometimes knowing less is knowing more, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely, you can overheat the brain with information. I've been there many times myself. I study 4 hours preparing for my opponent in the morning. I get to the board. He plays a different move on move 1. Then you sit there thinking, I've just wasted 4 hours of battery, 4 hours of energy. yeah, sometimes just doing the work between the tournaments. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I had that situation against Fabiano Caruana of all people. I was playing board 1, Isle of Man, and
That's
I'm
not
like,
the opponent you want to face.
yeah, right. And I was like, okay, this is my moment to shine. And I was like, okay, well, I studied the trend. He'd been up until that point always playing e4. So I was like, you know what, you can't. He plays everything. So you really just have to take a gamble. So I was like, I'm going to work on my carro. Worked on my advanced carro all morning, and I really was feeling quite confident.
He played 1d4.
He played 1d4. And then I was like, well, what's that? And then he played the exchange variation. I was like, okay. And then I was like, do I play my idea? And I was like, no, let's not play my idea. Let's play another idea.
Yeah.
And but I was so nervous. I used up so much time that I ended up like, that was my downfall. It actually wasn't because of the chess.
I mean, I think that's instructive for the audience as well. Like even players like us, even experienced players, we get nervous when we face the top guys. And that's why putting on this type of challenge for the juniors is so important. It means that they have that experience, that they hopefully won't get as nervous in future now that they have had exposure to people like Kramnik, Polgar, Gelfand, Yifan. And I know that personally, just being able to kind of learn from them, making them more accessible, it's made me less nervous when I do face them myself. And yeah, I've already mentioned it before. Yesterday was the first night I actually went back and I watched some of these videos from the Challenge Yourself initiative as part of this Challenges Chess Tour, Julius Baer Challenges Chess Tour, and yeah, I've been really enjoying those lessons.
Which one is your favorite?
It's got to be so far Gelfand. He's just.
It's like a talk show, right?
I know.
It's like he sits there and he discusses everything, and you feel like taking notes, and then you're like, yes, and he tells experience. And I really like the ending that he showed his game against Nigel Short.
Yeah.
It was really quite an instructive, and I liked his manner as well.
His enthusiasm for chess is infectious, right?
Right, and what I really do like about these sessions is that you have a variety of strengths. You have players who are international master. You also have people like Pragananda who are quite very strong grandmasters, and the sessions are kind of catered for almost everybody. You can pause the screen when it comes to the puzzles, and you can have a go at working it out, and then you get to hear how the students are thinking and how the grandmasters themselves are approaching the position. And for me, that is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, and if you want to do that yourself, #challenge yourself, become a premium member on Chess24.
Yeah.
And go and check out some of those lessons.
I do like the tagline. Train like a champ, play like a champ. And you can find out more on challengeschesstour.com. Well worth your money becoming a premium member of Chess24.
Yeah, and I think we might also have a quiz before the next round starts. We just have a couple of minutes now before this penultimate round, this critical round. And yeah, just before we jump into the action, maybe we can check out that quiz question. There we go. Which 3-time US Junior Girls Champion hit the headlines in 2013 when she beat her first Grandmaster as a 10-year-old? Wow, super young. Big achievement there. And in order to answer this question, check out Instagram. Go to the Champions Chess Tour Instagram page. Send in your answer, and you have a chance to win 3 months premium Chess24 membership, where you can play Banter Blitz and you can go and check out all those lessons.
Yeah, definitely go to the Instagram page and answer on the Instagram stories, and definitely well worth a try, because you'll get a chance at winning something fantastic. Yeah.
And in this next round, which has now just 1 minute to go before it starts, in this next round, we're going to start by following Vincent Kamer, one of our co-leaders. He's got a tough pairing against Abdusatorov, so one of the top seeds. And there we see the players just getting ready to start now. We should mention the other co-leader, Pragnananda. He's up against Olga Badelka, who is towards the bottom of the field now. So Pragnananda, he's going to be throwing everything at that game, trying to win. And Vincent, he'll have that on his mind. He needs to win this one as well to keep pace if Prag wins. So Vincent here with the white pieces against one of the higher seeds, but he's going to try a loss here, and I think he would pretty much be out of it due to the tie breaks. And we did mention Gukesh making a late surge, just half a point behind the leaders. He's black against Jonas Baer, so difficult pairing for that one in that game as well. So, okay, let's see whether the players do start off aggressively. even if they don't, even if it's a quiet game, we have seen the games really explode as the clocks tick down in this rapid format. And Vincent opens with the English. That makes us that makes us proud. Do you think he's opening with the English opening because of the Euros?
Undoubtedly.
England, Croatia.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, he's a German. He's a keen supporter of England.
Okay, so we do see the symmetrical English for now. So the 4 knights variation of the symmetrical, and G3, D5, and yeah, D5. Normally that's the sign. That's the move that Grunfeld players like to play. C4 is a way of avoiding the Grunfeld defense. Move 1, and often I've had this myself. How do you react against the English? What repertoire do you choose? And he does take the knights off here.
Take the knight. Yeah, I'm not so familiar with these English positions, but I know that you are, David.
Yeah, and this knight takes C3 move there, getting rid of the detention very early on. It's not supposed to be the most ambitious for black. White now has an extra central pawn. So, for example, after just castles here for white, or even D3, white has an extra central pawn, but black is super solid. Black occupies a lot of central space. I think this one has been pretty much worked out to black having a very, very fixed position, very solid position, slightly passive, but white, it's going to be hard for white to break through later, because if you look at it, white doesn't have any direct pawn breaks. So, okay, castles, this is all very well-known stuff. White usually plays rook b1 here, or on the next couple of moves. Another plan for white is to play c4 at some point, and then knight e1, knight c2, knight, whoops, me and my arrows.
D5.
Yeah, knight. Okay, he plays queen a4 instead, but yeah, this was another idea to bring the knight. Queen a4, queen c7. And, okay, queen a4 was designed against allowing black to play b6, and that's why queen c7 has been, is now on the board, just to reinforce maybe the knight on c6 later on.
Is queen a4 a bit of an unusual move?
As far as I know, but I haven't checked out this line for a year or two, I must admit. Yeah, it's not the most common line. So, okay, knight d2. Bishop d7. I do feel queen a4 maybe not the most accurate or not the most ambitious, because now after this bishop d7 move, you have to move the queen again pretty much. At least maybe on the next move, because, okay, queen c2 happens. Yeah, the queen was just open to too many discovered attacks, so just a bit of a loss of time maybe for white.
Right, but I mean, is there kind of any value in white saying, hey, yes, I've lost some time, but the bishop is now on d7. Maybe it wanted to be on a different diagonal.
Yeah, maybe the bishop wanted to be on b7. So maybe some pros, but Abdusattorov has taken the opportunity as soon as queen c2 was played to play b5 himself. Just the speed with which he's been playing, it feels like it's preparation from Abdusattorov. b5 a very nice move just to stop the white knight kind of getting to c4 and relocating itself.
Yeah, but it was an unusual line by Vincent Kima. So
it's queen a4. Yeah.
Queen a4. So it was kind of I would have thought that he would be in opening preparation to play like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just felt, okay, he's had a tough start to today. Maybe he just wants to get some moves on the board as quickly as possible.
A4 played.
Yeah. B4 instantly. Okay. That's committal. The solid move maybe would be to just play a6. B4 looks ambitious, but it does give away some squares, especially this one on c4.
I mean, I would play knight. Would you take?
It's slightly tempting to take, right?
Yeah, it is tempting to take.
But then I guess black doesn't want to take with a knight, because then this pawn's isolated forever, and this will be an eternal outpost. So takes would be met by takes, I guess. Maybe now you can play bishop b2, put the knight on b3. I'm not sure. But okay, we haven't had c takes b4. That would have been also equally committal. Instead, Vincent playing the flexible move, bishop b2. Rook c8, getting out of the long diagonal. So knight c4, I guess he wants to meet with bishop e6, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, rook d1. Wow, that's deep. Again, Vincent just staying as flexible as possible, but to me, it's not clear whether the rook belongs on d1 or whether it wants to be on c1 or b1. So it would have made sense to maybe keep that in reserve, keep that decision for later.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because I'm not even sure whether it's the right rook to move to the center, because you can see a situation where there's an f5, f4 situation coming towards you, and the white rook would maybe want to be on the king side.
Yeah, exactly. I was always told when I was young that if it's not clear where your piece belongs, maybe prioritize the other pieces first. If there's definitely squares that they want to jump to, and it feels like this knight, it needs to move soon. It needs to commit itself. It's just getting in the way at the moment. So knight c4 I would expect to see here, but bishop e6 must be black's idea, meeting knight e3, trying to jump in with rook d8 himself. So it seems like black is very solid. And c4 for white now, maybe, but both sides have squares. It's not clear who's the stronger.
But I feel that black has achieved the most in this position because, you know, knight can come to d4. It has the space. It has the flexibility to move between the two sides of the board. Yeah, there's also that issue. Looks like a dream.
Looks like a dream. And Vincent, he has to remember, try and win this game for the standings. And after bishop e6, it's going to be difficult to do that. Unless he takes a big risk. What about bishop takes c6 here? Maybe black just takes on c4. Because queen takes c6, at least you can pick off one pawn. I'm not sure which one, probably e5. But bishop takes c6, probably there's just bishop takes c4. I don't see how white's rook on d1 will ever help unless he goes for something like this, takes and tries to play like rook d5, for example. Yeah. Maybe cement that rook with e4. I think that's the only way I can see right now to justify white having played rook fd1. But instead, Vincent continues to not commit. He just plays rook ac1. What could that have in mind? Because if he's not going to take here anytime soon, then the rook on c1 also might just be misplaced.
Okay, what happens if black doesn't commit to anything either and just
f8.
rook f8?
Maybe his idea is to take, and now maybe a takes b4, but if c takes b4, there's going to be some tactics.
Okay, so in that case, I need to be a bit careful. So maybe I don't move the rook. Maybe I move the queen out of the way.
Okay, so queen b8 or queen a7 or
queen a7.
Queen a7. Okay. Now maybe I could still think about a move like this one.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, maybe you take. I slightly prefer white here though after e4 because white's bishop has the potential. Black's bishop is a bit dead. But okay, so Vincent, this one's looking very tense right now.
Shall we check up on Pragananda, who's playing Olga Badelka, and then let's have a look at Gukesh.
Okay, so Pragananda against Olga Badelka. I mean, this is very well-known theory, simply, and it's cost both players a bit of time to get here. This is basically a transposition to a line of the Nimzo, but normally white's queen would be on c2 in that position. So Pragananda has extra options. So it's a bit of a Ragozin Nimzo mix here. And Pragananda thinking, if it were me, to be honest, I would just try and get developed, just move the bishop. He does that just as I say, and then just get castled as white, try and take advantage of the fact black has an isolated pawn. It's not much of an advantage for white, but it's something small and long-term to nibble at.
And so knight c6.
Okay, just castle kingside, I guess, for white. And if black is obliged to recapture this pawn, probably now, then it's just a position, really. This very standard stuff. White has, normally in these IQP positions, white doesn't have such an active bishop creating this pin, so a bit of kind of added pressure for white. It's on the board now. And black has to decide when or when not to play g5. If you play g5 too soon, it will backfire. If you never play it, then maybe you'll regret missing that opportunity. So difficult decision for Badelka.
So you wouldn't be doing stuff like, g5 looks
no, I mean,
really
not really now, but
yeah.
Later.
But in general, it just looks so committal to do that.
Typical for these pawn structures, though.
Yeah, and then break out and go knight e4.
Yeah. So, for example, if white were to play knight b5, trying to conquer the d4
outpost, that looks like a natural move.
Then, maybe not now, but one idea would be potentially to play g5 and plant a knight on e4 and argue that, you've weakened the black king side, but you're going to get rid of one of white's better pieces. You've broken the pin.
Yeah.
Maybe queen f6 next move.
I love it when my opponent plays g5.
I thought you loved pushing your pawns yourself, Jovanka.
I have a bit of a, what can I say, bipolar relationship with pawns. I love them at pushing them, but at the same time,
you like it when the opponent's king is weakened, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I like having something concrete to attack.
So this one, still very early days, so maybe g5 in the air a bit later. And if Pragananda doesn't stop it, actually, then maybe d4 also an idea.
d4 definitely something. Shall we take a quick peek at Gukesh's game?
Yep. So Gukesh playing black against Jonas Baer, as we mentioned. This one, it looks like it came from a King's Indian. And we have seen a trade of pawns in the center. So black has this nice potential outpost, but at the moment, there are potentially threats like b5, hitting the rook. Knight d5 also always on the cards. It feels like if black gets 3 or 4 moves, if black gets like c6, and if white does nothing, if he gets like queen e7, rook d8, then black's doing fantastically well because the knight will jump into d4. But right now, it's less clear that he can do that because c6, maybe b5, hitting the rook. And if you play c5, knight d5, whose knight's going to be better? White will have the d5 outpost, black will have the d4 outpost. These positions I always find so difficult to evaluate.
I think I like the way I'm like, yeah, white is better.
Probably. Probably, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know, you have an outpost, I have an outpost, but hey, white can...
White's occupied it first.
Exactly, and there's still like knight c7 in the air. There's also, I like the fact that white has the possibility to break open the center with f4 and also a4, a5.
Yeah.
So I always kind of, you know, because I love my pawn break so much, I always judge the position by who has the power to create action.
Yeah, so maybe white would be able to create some action here, and Gukesh thinking, meanwhile, I mean, the move I'd love to play as well is to play queen e7, create a pin here to stop b5, but then you always just get hit by knight d5. And it's not easy to find another move here right now for Gukesh. Personally, I think c6 might just be necessary.
Yeah.
Unless he's really going to be ambitious and play f5. But this looks like it could backfire. I'm not sure black's completely ready for this. Maybe Gukesh, one eye on the standings, he's thinking, let's be aggressive.
But maybe it will work the other way, right? You think, well, the other two will have the chances. I just have the freedom to enjoy chess and play.
Yeah,
and
true.
No expectations whatsoever.
The whole idea is b5, maybe you can just move the rook now out of the attack of this bishop, and white hasn't achieved too much. But then, yeah, these hanging pawns, they're either very strong or they're very weak. And yeah, actually, you mentioned that point, Jovanka. That's one thing I think I've learned as I got older, that actually, if you just play these really critical high-tension matches, if you play it just for the sake of enjoyment, if you forget about the tournament standings, then they seem to go better. But when I was young, I lost so many final rounds in big clashes because I was too stressed about the standings. I was watching my kind of rivals' games as well, worrying about their results. You just need to do your own job and hope the chips fall in your favor.
Talking about tension, we have to go straight back to the game between Vincent Keymer and Abdusattorov, because it looks like Abdusattorov is just winning.
Yeah, we have to see what happens. So we left it a bit earlier after rook ac1. Black played f6 to defend e5. I was thinking that might be just very logical. e5 was always hanging in the lots of lines we looked at. So knight e3, rook d8. So okay, we actually suggested something very similar to this. The knight in d4 now has to be taken. Queen d2, there's knight b3, queen b1, knight takes e2. So takes, knight f1. Vincent must have missed that knight d5 now just allows takes, and rook takes d5 with a pin on the c line. So, okay, a bit of a bad miss there by Vincent, knight f1. Okay, he's trying to reroute round to b3 maybe, but f5 and bishop g5 coming. e4, aggressive by Abdusattorov, but also very, very strong. And it looks really unattractive to just leave this pawn on e4. Vincent maybe should have done, but he took. And now everything's just falling apart on the queen side for white. He attacks the rook. And, okay, the bishop drops back, but this is coming.
You just look at that nice bishop move, bishop c2, because it controls the queening square. And with that, it's game over. Knight d2.
Just d3 and...
That's cruel.
Cruel.
And
effective though.
It is very effective.
Completely winning for black now.
And pawn takes pawn. You can just go bishop takes rook.
Yeah, maybe you be extra sadistic and check first. Force the king into the corner.
Good.
And then you take.
That's good endgame tactics.
I mean, it's completely unnecessary, but
no,
you
but
could also,
it's a fantastic technique.
Could also play rook takes d3 there, but yeah, it looks like current position, Vincent, it's not gone well for him.
Okay, so that means...
Yeah, Abdusattorov playing spoiler after a difficult couple of days for him.
And we do have a result, and that is Volodar Mersin. He beat Carissa Yip, so that's the only result of the round so far. But it's not looking good for Vincent. I mean, can he save it at all? any hope.
Not us of this last move by Abdusattorov. E4 was met not by bishop takes A1, which probably was good enough, but bishop C3. Look at those bishops. That's why, yeah, I win half my games with bishops. I'm just obsessed with them. Even in the most blocked positions, I still believe in their potential.
Well, they do say that the bad bishop is even better than a good knight.
The worst bishop's just as good as the best knight, yeah. Not always true, but if Bobby Fischer loved his bishops as well, especially his light squared bishops. But these bishops, okay, they're perfect. Doing all the work, and White's blockade is not going to last much longer. Abdusattorov, actually, throughout the whole tournament, this is probably his most impressive game. Look at the clock, 8 minutes still left for him, just quick and confident. Vincent, no chance in this game.
Yeah, he's had some impressive moments, actually. He beat Pragananda in a very impressive style.
Yeah.
He came undone against the lower rated opposition.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show. And yeah, now those pawns are coming on the queen's side. Okay. So should we watch the final, or should we have a quick check?
I think we can just safely assume that Black's going to win this one.
Yeah.
At least one queen's going to appear on the board soon.
So let's check up on Pragananda against Olga Badelka.
So quite a lot has changed here. We did see actually earlier that G5 idea we mentioned. It did happen. And okay, a result in this game, it looks like from the players' expressions, Vincent came out and Abdusattorov. So yeah, we did see a few trades in this game. White has occupied the central outpost with his knight very nicely. But bishop pair for Black again. And Black will, the reason we love the bishop pair quite often is that Black will have the option anytime he wants to take this knight off the board if it ever becomes too strong. So for example, if White just makes an improving move like King F2 or something, maybe Black could even consider Rook takes Rook, take off the knight, just simplify everything, and Rook C8 at the end, and this should fizzle out to a draw. Some small chances for White if the Rooks come off, because he's got Prag would have the better bishop, but it does look relatively safe for Black there. And King F2 has been played. So will Badelka now rush with that decision? I'm not sure she needs to. She plays bishop takes d4 first. Maybe that's actually even better than what I suggested, because now if Rook takes c8, maybe, okay, Black can play Rook takes c8 as well, but maybe just bishop takes e3.
Yeah, you can throw in intermezzo.
Yeah, and pawn up for Black. Not the best pawn in the world, but e takes d4. Oh, sorry. The game instead happened bishop takes d4, e takes d4.
Okay, and now are we going to see Rook c?
Okay,
okay,
King f6 first. Sorry, that was just my analysis.
Okay.
On the board, but King f6, very, very sensible move. You don't want to ever kind of think about f5 for White. So looks like Badelka holding this game.
Yeah, and what's really nice to see is that the time is very evenly matched, because, I mean, one of the reasons Olga doesn't have such a high score is because she's been using a lot of time on her clock, and people have been taking advantage of that towards the later stages of the game. But here, looks like everything is under control. So Rook H1 played by Pragananda, attacking the pawn.
I think you can just take off this Rook now.
Yeah, Rook takes Rook, and then Rook C8.
C8, yeah. If White trades the Rooks, it's just dead draw. So Rook H1. I think you can even meet it with King G7, but if you want to be super solid, you can play Rook H8. Yeah, not too worrying for Black. Probably just King G7. I don't see any way that White can scare you here. Scare you too much.
Yeah, is there something to do with
F5, F6?
Yeah, F5, F6, but
yeah, I think Black can
but maybe not now. Maybe leave that in advance. Maybe just kind of go King E.
Yeah, King E3.
King E3.
We might well see this on the board. This is the current position. Badelka's defended very well so far from a slightly worse position. Can she continue to do that? I wonder if Prag, do you think he's got an eye on the other results? Has he seen that Vincent's already lost?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they don't play like they've seen the they've seen the results. I think Prag will be looking at ways just to put the match away, because if he wins this, okay, well, Gukesh, of course, if he wins, will be breathing down his neck. So
and Gukesh beat him in the last round, right?
Yes.
So Gukesh will have the better tiebreak if they end up on the same score.
Oh, what a twist.
What a twist. Imagine if it goes down to that last few moves of the last game. Yeah. And both sides looking at each other's results. Bishop d7, yeah. I was wondering if it's time to be extra cynical here and just play g4 check, king somewhere, and f5, just block everything up. Yes, you make the Black bishop bad, but you completely close down any pawn breaks. But okay, instead, bishop d7 should be quite sensible for Badelka.
I mean, what is White's active plan?
Don't see it yet. Maybe White could try f5 and g4, but probably f5. At the very least, Black can just play this move. Oh, maybe not rook c6. Rook c6, maybe there's bishop b5, but I would just want to kind of cover any f6 ideas. Okay, instead, Prag plays king e3 and a6 by Badelka. That's surprising. To put pawns on light squares when you have a light squared bishop is very surprising. I would have thought maybe just put pawns on a5 and b6, or just not touch those pawns at all, or just put one pawn on b6, but to play a6.
Yeah, I don't think I would have touched the pawn, but maybe she's got your idea of playing rook c6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just worried now that if the rooks do eventually come off, that there will be weak dark squares in Black's position, or maybe White will be able to fix some pawns on dark squares with a move like b4. But her idea actually was to play bishop after king d2 to play bishop b5. Mm-hmm.
Does seem to force the situation somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, how is the rook and pawn ending? Bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop.
Yeah.
Even
e1. Maybe to try and play this move.
I feel that this is
slightly risky. I do sense sometimes. I mean, we've all been there, right? I've been there myself plenty of times. But when we're lower rated, we just want to force the issue. We want to force that draw. We don't want to maintain the tension.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering if bishop b5 is a bit premature and unnecessary as well. I think Black could just sit and wait and be completely fine.
Yeah. I mean, we do really have to assess that rook and pawn ending, right? To see whether she can hold it, because it seems to me very, very risky. Because, okay, but how risky is it? Bishop. I mean, I think we're going to see bishop takes bishop.
Yeah,
that's the first move instinctively to play, right? Or
no, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then rook e1, and
maybe after king f6, maybe there's counterplay. For example, rook e5. Maybe you can just take and go rook g8.
Yeah.
So I was just worried Black wouldn't be able to find any active plan, but this looks...
Okay, but then we get into a race, right? So rook take... I remember that you guys were mocking me for saying it's a race.
We weren't mocking you. We were supporting your catchphrase.
Rook takes pawn.
It's a race car.
It's a race car, yeah.
Maybe king g6 here, and then try and push. This reminds me a bit of a game that Pragnananda lost earlier on in the tournament to Awanda Liang, with a pawn race. Okay, we have seen the bishops come off, and okay, maybe in light of that idea of Black playing or using the G file, Prag has played fg5, hg5 first, and only now rook e1. So that's quite clever, stopping any g takes f4 ideas. But it might be another race after king f6, rook e5. What happens if Black plays rook h8?
Rook takes pawn.
Rook takes, and rook h2.
And rook takes pawn again.
Yeah, we've got a race, Jovanka.
My favorite thing.
Okay, so Badelka didn't go for that. She's gone active on the other side of the board instead. It did feel like maybe after rook h8, maybe White could have played king e2 in that line, king f2 just to defend everything. So rook c4, then rook a4 by Badelka. Okay, that's quite clever. So she wants to meet a3 with b4, and it's surprisingly hard for White to defend everything now.
But you can play rook e5 anyway, can't you?
In this position.
Yeah.
Oh, it has happened. Yeah. Rook takes a2.
Yeah. Now you can move the king.
Yeah, it does feel like it should be fine for Black, but all control is gone now. It's pure calculation, and Prag's very good at that. Okay, he's got less time though. 36 seconds against 1 minute 42. I'll just keep an eye on the other game as well. Very tense there between Jonas, Baer, and Gukesh. So Gukesh trying to catch up with Prag. Okay, rook a4. Okay, a4. I quite like that. What do you think? Although it does give up a couple.
Rook takes pawn.
Rook
takes pawn check. Then rook takes d5. I don't know.
Actually, yeah, check, I guess.
I'm thinking that Olga might not hold this one, actually. It's going to be very difficult. King to d3.
Okay, d3.
No, maybe.
I guess I'll go here, and then maybe you repeat once.
Yeah, repeat once, and then
you go this way, try and win this pawn.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, Black needs to be very, very...
Yes.
Yeah, actually, Black needs to be very, very careful now. Rook c4 on the board. Actually, I didn't really see a way to save this immediately. I'm surprised the bar is still roughly in the middle, because if I were white here, I would think I have fantastic winning chances.
Yeah. Should we quickly pop into the game, Jonas Baer against Gukesh? Because, of course...
big drama here.
Definitely. And, wow.
I mean...
that is going to be checkmate.
Yeah. There's 3 different checkmates in one right now.
You defend against them all. So I think you have to go Queen C2.
Bishop G2. Nice finish by Gukesh now.
And after Queen takes Bishop, Queen takes H4 and...
checkmate.
Checkmate. Wow.
Taking his chances when they come.
So...
So
he's now temporarily in the league. Lead.
Actually, if Prag doesn't win this game now, then Gukesh is in the lead. If it's a draw, Gukesh is above on the head-to-head.
Okay. So the tagline was anything can happen, and it has. So
those stats we saw before the round where, Gukesh had no chance. Suddenly, this late surge, beating his direct rivals, might give him...
It's because he has 3 out of 3. So...
Yep, so okay, b4 was played, rook d7, king e6, nice move by Badelka there. King e6 now forcing white to commit with the rook. Now the d4 pawn drops off. So white to pawn up, but those double g pawns aren't so impressive. I think black has a simple plan. You just go rook g4, take on g3, take on g2, give up your b pawn, but the f pawn should more than suffice.
Yeah, okay, and it's happening. Rook to g4 now, we're expecting rook takes pawn.
Look at Prag, he's very disappointed here, but Badelka, fantastic defense.
Yeah, definitely. King to c3, and now she just has to run with her pawn.
Yeah, both pawns are very slow here, to be honest. Even if black just plays king d6 here, king gives up the f pawn, king d6, king c6. Actually, they just agree a draw. Prag, Nananda no longer in the lead on his own. Badelka, phenomenal defending there. I mean, top class defending. Can't fault her at all there.
So, wow, David. I'm just a bit speechless here.
One more round of drama. This is shaped up. Could it be any more tense right now?
No, it couldn't. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. Prag from being the clear favorite, having the better tie breaks against Vincent Kimo suddenly has, the worst tie break against Gukesh, a name that we just didn't even have factored in our imaginations. Wow.
Well, I'm just looking ahead as well to the next round's pairings to see who they're both playing. And okay, we'll come to that shortly probably, but the only thing to expect is the unexpected now. I think it's just a toss-up. It's 50-50. Whoever can hold their nerves better in this final round.
So who will Prag be playing against?
So Pragnanada actually has black against Salimova.
Okay.
So not an easy pairing at all.
Definitely not.
Gukesh has white against Leiting Jay. Also not easy, but having the white pieces, maybe he'll feel optimistic there.
And we do still have a few games going on. So shall we check in on a wonder against Zhu Jiner?
Yes, so Awanda Liang, one of the former leaders, and Zhu Jiner, Judith earlier herself mentioned, has been quite impressive throughout the Challengers chess tour so far. But black is 2 pawns up, so black should win. It's not easy. Black right now has to firstly break through and start pushing these 2 pawns, but also has to keep an eye on these 2. White will try and target those if possible.
Yeah, so the problem is the light square bishop that black has. I mean,
so passive.
It's so passive, it can't get active.
Okay, white gives a check, king g5.
Okay, now the bishop has to return to c6, because if the light square... Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, bishop c7. Yeah, now bishop check.
Ooh, okay, so bishop check. I'm not so sure I like bishop c7, because now black can reroute the king f6.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. The black king was previously pretty bad. It was actually kind of sidelined, and there were so many checks against it. Now the black king is supporting the pawns pushing forward.
Yeah, now the pawns can push forward. So it's, shall we hop into the other, is this the final? No, there's one other game going on.
Okay, there's one other game going on between Shivalova and Mamadzada. Just before we go there, it does look like Awanda Liang's going to win this game, and he does. Zhu Jiner resigns 2 pawns down, or temporarily 3 pawns down at least. And the other game going on, okay, this... I was going to say it's quite hard to evaluate, but is black not just making a new queen right now?
Yes, but you're going to lose a rook.
Yes. So
is there a fortress?
Is there something even better? I think you can play queen f2 check here and queen f3 check and pick off the white rook. White has a huge amount of pawns right now, but
Yes.
yeah. Okay, queen f2 has been played. Yeah. Queen f3 check.
Queen f3.
How many is that? 4 pawns and a bishop? That's 7. Let me count.
But
might be 5 pawns.
I mean, how would the situation be if there were 5 pawns and a bishop? Well, okay, just exclude the black pawn.
If you could save all your pawns, then maybe you can hold it. But you kind of want all the pawns actually quite far back because then they're easier to hold. If they're further advanced forward, you can kind of attack them from behind. The black queen can.
Yeah, and the king would also have a lot of maneuvering space as well. Yeah. The black king.
This is interesting. I mean, it's so rare to see these material imbalances. We see them in every round pretty much. Mm-hmm. So bishop f3 against queen. Can the queen prevail? I don't think it's actually going to be as easy as it looks. Or as easy as the bar makes it look. Queen, okay, how can black start picking off these pawns?
Yeah, well, I think you can give a check. And then you can...
queen e3 check.
Then queen e3 and then pick up the...
Okay, now it should be.
the e-pawn. And then...
Okay, but now the white king is pretty much zigzwanged.
Yeah, exactly. And now you can just move your king.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Yeah, king d8, king c8.
King c8.
The white king's in a mating net, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, this white king is about to come under fire from queen e8 or queen a4 check. Yeah. Actually, if white had one more move earlier, if white was able to keep the e-pawn and go e5 or something, then it would have been super difficult, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But black picked up everything with check.
Yeah, now you have queen a4 check.
Yeah, and now queen a4 check, king b6, queen b4 check.
Queen b4 check, and
yes. Then... Okay, queen b3 check, nice.
That's even better. And now the king can't go to c6 because of queen b7 checkmate.
Oh, yeah, king here, and the king is trapped. And if not, then the d5 pawn drops. So Polina Shevalova does resign. Mamadzada continuing to impress in this tournament so far. Mm-hmm. And that does look like the last game in action. How many draws did we have in this round? It was only
2.
Only 2.
But we had sensational results because there you can see Gukesh is now a joint leader along with Pragananda. But of course, Gukesh has a superior tiebreak because he defeated Pragananda in their encounter. And in third place, we have Vincent Keimer with 12.5 points. Fourth to fifth place, we have Nihal Sarin and Volodar Mertzin. And we also have some impressive scores from everyone. And very importantly, Team Polgar are in the convincing lead. They have 96 points against Team Kramnik's 84.
Wow, what a round it's going to be in this next game. And I was just flicking through Gukesh's last game. He was fantastic in that last round, fantastic throughout today so far. Can he end on a high? He's got it all in his own hands. And
there we have the pairings, for the final round of the Gelfand challenge. And the really important pairings that we're going to keep an eye on, we're going to follow. Well, they will be Gunay Mamadzada against Vincent Keimer. We also have Gukesh D against Lei Ting J. Gukesh in the lead, of course. And finally, we have Nurgil Salimova against Pragananda. Those are the important, critical matchups. There's still a slight chance for Vincent Keimer to win. He needs the other 2 players to lose.
Yeah. So Vincent not quite out of it. We'll keep an eye on his game, but we will be following the games of Gukesh and Pragananda mainly.
Yeah.
In this next round. Yeah. I mean, what drama. And actually, maybe just in this break before the next game, we can take a look at how Gukesh won in the last round, because I think he came up with some fantastic ideas. And winning with black against someone as strong as Jonas Baer, that just shows. And after beating Pragananda in the previous round as well, that just shows what form he's in. So in this position, we actually left it just before this, and white played knight g5, trying to remove a defender of this e6 knight. And black just ignored that. Black said, okay, I'm not going to let you trade off those knights. I'm going to play knight d4, attacking the bishop on e2 with a fork. So bishop stepped back. And now Gukesh, this I think was the key move to win the game, actually. He just played b6. So there's a double threat for white, knight c7 and bishop takes c5, both in the air. He decided to guard against bishop takes c5 with b6, allowing this fork. Queen g6, though, and Jonas going after this a8 rook. He did get his knight offside. So what black currently a whole rook down. And this knight on g5 is also protected by the queen. So black a rook down, but just going for the attack, f4. And fortune favors the brave. This actually turned out really well for Gukesh. A huge kingside attack now brewing. And h4 was played to defend the knight. Bishop f5, attacking the white rook. Every move coming with tempo, attacking the rook and attacking the knight now. Black gaining back a knight, so now only the exchange down, and fantastic compensation. He removed the knight on g5, the best defender of white's king. And after this trade, he just continued to build up. And look at this. He's already sacrificed one exchange, Jovanka. Rook takes d5. Another one. Bang. Bishop h3 now. And this is where we saw the mating attack. White is completely helpless. All of the defenders have been removed of the white king. And the final blow. Check. F takes g3. You can almost even imagine a queen sacrifice ending this game. But yeah, and we did see the finishing blow after queen c2, trying to defend along this line. Black just played bishop g2. Check. Occupying one of the defensive squares or one of the escape squares for white's king, and now queen takes h4 and mate next move. Just a masterpiece by Gukesh in this last round.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. I mean, I can't wait for the final round. But in the meantime, I think we'll take a small break and get ready to join us because it's going to be intense.
Yes. See you in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Baer, Gelfand and co will help you improve your chess. Play versus a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.
Super discounts on merchandise. Massive sales on courses from Chessable. Chessable and Chess24 bundles. With new deals appearing every day. Visit chess24.com/deals.
Take your chess to the next level with carefully selected collections featuring some of the best video series from Chess24. Buy the courses to own them forever, save up to 60%, or go premium and access all series while having all other privileges of premium membership. Learn more at chess24.com/deals.
Let's take someone with a random account, with a random name that just seems attractive.
Play live online against the world's top chess players while they stream their thoughts live. As a Chess24 Premium member, seize the chance to have your moment of fame. Get a peek inside their lives with question and answer sessions, in-depth teaching, analysis and interviews. The Champions Chess Tour, with countless accompanying events, is happening now. Tune in on Chess24.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the final round of the Gelfand Challenge. We also have some exciting news for you. Just before we left on the break, we thought that, okay, it was down to Gukesh or it was down to Praggnanandhaa, but we could even end up with a three-way tie if those two draw, if Vincent Keymer wins. And it's going to be impossible to separate them. They've all beaten each other in their head-to-heads. They've all got the same number of wins, and it's going to go down to a mathematical tiebreak. So anything could still happen. 3 potential winners and only 1 game remaining.
Yeah, I know, it's insane. And the funny thing is that if Gukesh were to draw and Vincent were to win and Praggnanandhaa were to lose, it would actually be Vincent who would be the victorious one. So absolutely anything can happen. And there you can see in action there. This is, yeah, and there you can see everyone's chances, and you can see how little Gukesh had as a chance to even win.
Yeah, before today started, he had 0.03% chance of winning. That, I mean, that's the type of numbers you would buy lottery tickets for that. So yeah, having won all of his games today, he's going to be feeling super confident. He's beaten Praggnanandhaa. We saw that last game, just a masterpiece from Gukesh. His fate is in his own hands. If Gukesh wins now, he's won the tournament. He qualifies for the Champions Chess Tour, the next leg, and he'll be facing the likes of Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Wesley So. But if Gukesh doesn't win, the others, they have a chance. Praggnanandhaa and Vincent Keymer, they know that they have to win to stand a chance.
The heat is on. The pressure is rising, David. I mean, how do you yourself cope in these type of must-win situations?
I would be panicking. I would be having a nervous breakdown right now. Just, no, I think on a serious note, the players, they will just be trying to go into that bubble. They've had some fantastic coaching. We mentioned Boris Gelfand. We mentioned Judith Polgar. They themselves have said they have given advice to the players. Just blank everything out, blank out the whole outside world. Just focus on your game. That's the key. And the older I get, the more that's easy to do. But when you're young, it's easy to get caught up in the emotions as well. So let's see who holds their nerves the better.
Yeah, and he's up against a very strong player. I mean, he's up against Lei Ting Jie. He does have the white pieces, so that's in his favor. But still, she's a tough opponent. We've seen her play some fantastic chess. So, wow.
Yeah,
they're all playing females, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. It's a battle of boys versus girls in those top 3 spots in this final round. We do see Gukesh, of course, playing Lei Ting Jie. And we see Praggnanandhaa black against Nagul Salamova, and Vincent Keymer black against Gunay Mamadzada. So 3 of the top performing girls so far against 3 of the top performing boys. Yeah, 2 of those boys are going to be heartbroken after this next round when they don't get that ticket to the Champions Chess Tour. But it's too close to call. We can't pick a favorite, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, if I were to say someone, it would probably be Gukesh, because the momentum's on his side. You know, he's won 3 games. If I were him, I wouldn't even look at the chances. I would just simply go and play my game of chess and see what happens, and then afterwards either commiserate or celebrate.
That's what he should do. It's going to be hard to not look at those other games, though. And actually, the games are just about to start in 1 minute. So maybe we can take a look at the players getting ready. Will they look nervous visibly on the camera? I mean, it's going to be so fun for those 3 opponents that we mentioned, Lei Ting Jie, Mamadzada, and Salamova. They're just going to be playing the spoiler role, and that's the most fun.
Have you ever played the role of spoiler?
Yeah, it's the best role. You have no pressure. You thrive. I mean, every chess player thrives on crushing the opponent's dreams, right?
No,
that's why we play chess.
That's so mean. I remember someone who ruined my chance of getting a GM norm, and I was like, that was very tough.
That's part of life.
That was a tough pill to swallow, that one.
And we will start by following the game of Gukesh, but here we do see Vincent Keymer arriving early, and his opponent Mamadzada. Keymer looks focused. He knows the task in hand. He needs to win and pray.
I think out of everyone, I think Vincent perhaps has the easiest psychologically, because he knows that he's trailing the other 2, and it's up to he's really dependent that they draw or they lose or whatever. So he doesn't control his own fate. But Gukesh, on the other hand, he's played so naturally, so beautifully. There's so much strain.
Now we see Gukesh. Look, talking of strain, Jovanka, is that nervous strain, or is he just meditating? Or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, this is a good thing to do, you know, to get yourself in a good headspace and just take the time out, take a few deep breaths, just reset the emotions so that you play like your mind is like water, like Bruce Lee.
He needs that calm, and Gukesh just getting ready to start the game here. And it is a big moment. We have seen, however, throughout the tournament, there's been a bit of a curse among the leaders. Whoever takes the lead seems to lose immediately in the next round. So Gukesh, he knows that has happened. That has been the trend of the tournament. We are off, however. Will we get the Queen's Gambit here? We have started with the Queen's Pawn opening. Gukesh, he could choose the London system. He's just taking a pause now to figure out what he wants to play. Bishop f4. What do you think, Jovanka?
I think he'll go c4.
It brought him a lot of success against Pragnananda. He seemed very well prepared there a couple of rounds ago.
Why change his style? Okay, Bishop f4, the London system.
Okay.
So I thought, you know, he's been so successful with his aggressive take on the openings. Why not continue in that vein? But okay, the London system it is. But, you know, this isn't a bad choice either. I've taken it up this last year and I've kind of liked it. I've done well.
Yep. And actually, Gukesh, I remember he had a very crushing win, I think, yesterday using the London system as well. So Bishop d3 now played. C5 is the main move here, but Black has choice.